killings of Muslims that happen in the country?
Let me begin by this point first, and I hope I won't be interrupted like I heard him patiently, he'll hear me patiently. By the way, there is now EWS category reservation, which is meant for any person who's backward, irrespective of what their religious denomination is. So that applies to the Pasmandas. Secondly, when Prime Minister sends any kind of scheme, whether it's Ujwala, Mudra, Ghar Ki Yojana, Toilet Yojana, Tap Water Yojana, the partnership in that is that at least 30 to 40% goes to SC, ST, OBCs and backwards, including those Muslims who are economically backward. Thirdly, when the Prime Minister came to power, there were 2.94 crore scholarships given in UPA2. That was increased by 20 lakhs to 3.14 crore. The scholarships and the money allocated to AMU or to Jamia has doubled in the last 6 years. The budget given to the Minority Affairs Ministry has almost gone up from 3,500 crores to 5,000 crores. Obviously, then it has moderated a bit. So where is the point of discrimination? And as far as the imposition, why should there be one common law? That was what Adil Hassan said. Akshita, there is common criminal code. Is Adil being subjected to Sharia punishment and Shakti being subjected to non-Sharia punishment? If that is the case, then Adil should tell that if tomorrow any Owaisi, any Akbaruddin is caught robbing, then his hands will be chopped off. And the other person who's caught robbing, say a Shakti or some other person, then he should be given some other punishment. They don't want common criminal code. They only want common civil code so that they can exploit the rights of the women. The Supreme Court has ordained for UCC, not in one but in multiple judgments. The UCC was put in Article 44 by the Congress Party and the founding fathers, including Baba Sahib Ambedkar, whom they say Jai Bhim all the time. So was Baba Sahib Ambedkar communal? It was implemented in Goa for the first time when the Congress Party was in power.
No, but Ambedkar did also suggest, Shehzad, that it should be voluntary. He did suggest that it should be voluntary.
Let me come to that. It has been put in the directive principles of state policy, and after due consultation, every state has to aspire to bring that into practice, into its own law. So it has to build that consensus. That process is happening now. Who is forcing anything down anyone's throat? But before that has been done, how come some people have already predicted that it will be a Hindu code or it will be a XYZ code? This is fear-mongering of the worst kind.
Let's get a response. Let's get a response.
The law was asked by the Supreme Court. One last line, Akshita, just one last line. Triple Talaq law, not brought by us, it was brought by the Supreme Court. Supreme Court said, bring it. Why do they oppose that? Do they not have faith in Supreme Court?
Okay. Adil Hassan, do you want to respond? Then I'll bring in also the DMK on this.
Pratiksha, I just want to know, ma'am, that Mr. Modi is talking about the Muslim woman. Why there is not even a single Muslim woman in the cabinet or a member of parliament from the BJP? And he is talking about the 40% Muslim minority budget decrease. Aligarh Muslim University, Kishanganj, not even get a single penny for Modi government from the last 9 years.
I'll ask those questions. You've spoken of representation. You've spoken of representation. Adil Hassan, why don't you answer the question that Shehzad is putting forth? Why is Mr. Owaisi saying that the Uniform Civil Code today... Sir, listen to my question, please. Why is Mr. Owaisi saying today that the Uniform Civil Code is a Hindu civil code? What is that based on?
Because Mr. Modi wants to, after 9.5 years, Modi wants to implement his ideology. Mr. Modi must know that India is a pluralistic country. India, in every 50 kilometers, we change our dress, we change our language, we change our fooding habit. Mr. Modi have to consult to every person. Why not? Baba Sahib Ambedkar, Sardar Patel Sahib, Pandit Nehru ji, Mahatma Gandhi, all the lead, Maulana Azad Sahib, all were very much visionary to the Mr. Modi or Mr. Rahul or any of the leader who is in the present scenario. They are more visionary. They did not impose UCC on us. They know India better than us. They sacrificed everything for the country. Mr. Modi, he was sleeping for 9.5 years. He just get up and he talking about UCC. Why he is talking about
I'm going to give Shehzad 30 seconds to you to respond, because then I have to bring in Salem Dharni Dharan as well. 30 seconds to Shehzad to respond.
Yes, just 30 seconds. Just 30 seconds, and I promise I won't take more than that. Since the gentleman brought up about Muslim women, the dropout rate amongst Muslim women has gone down from 70% to 30%. But can you tell me the name of the Muslim president of AIMIM? And the AIMIM has Muslimin in its name. Talk about diversity. The day Mr. Adil is willing to put Hindu in his MIM name, then he should talk about diversity. Apne naam mein Muslimin hai, and he is lecturing others about diversity. This is the heights, Akshita. This is the heights. And let me come to the larger point. I am glad, Akshita, I did not interrupt. Akshita, this is not a street brawl. Akshita, this is not a Hyderabad
Adil Hassan, let him finish. Adil Hassan, no, we will not have shouting over each other, please. Just hold on. Let Shehzad finish. Shehzad, go ahead.
Akshita, I shudder to think if there will be a Sar Tan Se Juda slogan next. Now let me just complete my point. Akshita, all I'm trying to say is that here is a person demanding representation on the basis of a particular religion. We are not in a separate electorate kind of situation that Pakistan was built upon. Today we are represented by all kinds of people. When the Prime Minister took over, the chief of the IB was Asif Ibrahim. If government wanted, he could have changed him. We did not change him. We kept the most important person for national security as Asif Ibrahim. Our United Nations representative was Syed Akbaruddin. What are you saying, sir? We have a Muslim from the Pasmanda Samaj from Rajya Sabha, Ghulam Ali Khatana. I myself belong to Pasmanda Samaj. I am the national spokesperson of BJP, one of the most visible on all platforms. What are you saying? And what did you do for Pasmanda? Is Mr. Owaisi giving any chance to Pasmanda? From 1952 to 2004, Pasmanda got 0.8% representation.
I want to answer
what was that
No,
population?
1 second. Okay, I will come back to you, Adil Hassan. I will come back to you.
What was the representation you gave to Pasmanda? It is Modi ji who's talking about Pasmanda
I need 30 seconds.
I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you. Adil Hassan, my apologies. I will come back to you. I promise I will give you time. I will give you time and we will address the question that you want to answer. It's only fair that I also take this across to Salem Dhanidharan right now, spokesperson of the DMK. Your party, Salem, has also been very, very critical of the UCC. Why is that? What is your grouse now?
See, there are several reasons. First, I think I hope you'll give me 2 minutes, and also first and foremost, thank you for having me on your show. See, BJP believes in divisive politics. Whenever there is an election in a state, they bring up an issue that is communal in nature. Right? Now there are elections due in Madhya Pradesh in the coming months. That's how the Prime Minister brought it up. Manipur, has he spoken anything about Manipur? Manipur is burning. Even the ministers are not safe there. Chief Minister himself is not safe. Why is he not speaking about Manipur? Why is he not speaking about unemployment? Why is he not speaking about no growth? Why is he not speaking about price rise? Having said all that, first of all, let's have uniformity in Hinduism. Ramnath Kovind was the former president. When he was the president of the country, when he went to Puri temple, he was not subjected to treatment which every other Hindu would be treated to. Right? In Uttar Pradesh, someone was shot dead a few months back because he wanted to go to a temple. So let's have uniform code for Hinduism. In Tamil Nadu, under the Dravidian model government, our leader M.K. Stalin said every people belonging to every caste could become a priest. Is BJP ready to implement the same in every state, their rule? If they say, then I agree. Are they willing to do that?
Shehzad, can you respond to that with a yes and no, clearly? Is the BJP willing to do that?
Yeah, Akshita, first of all, you should know, because we're having this discussion, the Hindu reform laws were brought way back in 1950s. It was out of vote bank politics that the reform that should have taken place in the Muslim community was stalled. So please, let us now spare the Hindu community. They have already had reforms in their laws right in the 1950s onwards. And secondly, discrimination of any kind on the basis of caste is anyways forbidden in any public or other space. But I ask you, if you want to take that argument forward, then somebody will tomorrow say, extending your same argument, that what should be done about the situation where some people get benefits of certain positions because of their caste, then should we do away with that system also? So I think that is a self-defeating argument. And thirdly, DMK spokesperson said that talk about employment, talk about this. Why? You're saying the rights of women should not be spoken about. You are a movement which credits itself to be a very progressive movement. Here is a movement that is saying that women should have equal rights. They should not be subjected to all kinds of bad practices which are not even given sanction in Islam. And you being a progressive movement are saying, no, let's not talk about women's rights. Why 50% of the population of this country should get their rights to education, to be liberated, to speak their mind freely. That is not important subject for you. And how is that every time we speak about this, you bring up unemployment? We are talking about unemployment. You talk about the unemployment unemployment in Tamil Nadu, talk about the corruption of Senthil Balaji in Tamil Nadu, talk about Pon Modi's corruption in Tamil Nadu. How is that mutually exclusive with what is happening on a social political front?
Let's focus on the UCC debate. Let's focus on UCC right now. Adil Hassan, I promised to give you time, so go ahead. I just have one question to you. Are you for gender equality, sir? If yes, Mr. Adil Hassan, do you believe that there must be codified laws on marriage, on divorce, on succession?
Ma'am, our point is clear that Mr. Modi can't enforce his mindset on the country. He have to consult every citizen of the country. And Mr. Shahzad was talking about Pasmanda. My state president Bihar is Pasmanda. Jharkhand state president is from the Pasmanda community. Uttar Pradesh Pasmanda community. National secretary from Pasmanda community. I challenge Mr. Modi, Arif Mohammad Khan, Sayyid Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi, Sayyid Shahbaz Hussain, Sayyid Zafar, Sayyid Zafar, Najma Heptullah. I am not interrupting. I don't want interruption. See,
go ahead.
All are from the forward community. Why you given all the posts? Mr. Najib Jang, Mr. Firoz Bakht, all from the forward community. You are felicitating them and you are talking on camera about Pasmanda and you are giving the post to all the forward community. And you are stopping the 5% reservation in Maharashtra, Bombay High Court in educational institution.
Okay, but sir, Adil Hassan, I have run out of time. I have run out of time. One quick answer from you to my question that I asked you. Are you for gender equality, for reform in marriage, divorce and succession to ensure equality for Muslim women, sir? Yes or no?
Please ask Mr. Modi to bring, our Bhabhi is in Gujarat. Please ask him to first bring and give justice to our Bhabhi. Then we will understand who is delivering the justice.
Sir, answer my question, please.
Charity begins at home. We want
answer my question.
Our Bhabhi in Gujarat.
You're not going to answer my question. You're not going to answer my question clearly. So it's fine. I'll wrap this up.
I'm ready to answer your question. But first, charity begins at home. Give justice to our Bhabhi who is sitting in Gujarat.
Adil, you first make sure your sister does not have to go through halala.
Let's not get personal, please. I'm going to wrap this up. Because I will not allow this to get personal. I'd like to thank our guests. We will stop there because this is clearly getting personal and we don't allow that here on India Today. It's up to you, the viewer, to decide whether Uniform Civil Code is something that works for the benefit, for equality of all Indians, or whether it's actually divisive. We wrap up this edition of To The Point. Thanks for tuning in. Coming up on the other side is News Track with Rahul Kanwal.
Artificial intelligence, AI, an ever-evolving field is transforming the world we live in, unleashing wonders that were once unimaginable. Now, artificial intelligence is transforming lives in Lucknow in the field of medical science. This is an ortho-robo performing a knee replacement surgery, all made possible courtesy AI. And this is a game changer in Uttar Pradesh, as this AI-powered robo will now perform more ortho procedure in Lucknow's Apollo Medics.
This is a most advanced active robotic system. Active means कि हम इसमें सर्जिकल प्लानिंग करते हैं और वो सर्जिकल प्लानिंग सर्जन अपने एक्सपीरियंस के हिसाब से पेशेंट की बॉडी के हिसाब से करता है, तब उस सॉफ्टवेयर को सेव करके और रोबोट में कनेक्ट कर दिया जाता है.
So how does this work? All the information is fed into the robo and then it works on its own, performing the surgery directly.
0.1 मिलीमीटर तक एक्यूरेट होता है. और अगर आप मैनुअल सर्जरी और रोबोटिक सर्जरी की बात करें तो मैनुअल सर्जरी इज 70% एक्यूरेट, तो दिस इज 95% एक्यूरेट.
From revolutionizing industries to enhancing everyday life, AI has proven to be a catalyst for progress and innovation. Bureau Report, India Today.
Introducing Apple Vision Pro.
Apple unveiled its hotly anticipated augmented reality headset on Monday, its riskiest and biggest bet since the iPhone debuted more than a decade ago. The Vision Pro poses a direct challenge to Meta's line of mixed and virtual reality devices. And with a price tag that will start at $3,499, the Vision Pro will cost more than 3 times Meta's priciest headset when it launches next year. Apple CEO Tim Cook.
It's the first Apple product you looked through and not at. Vision Pro feels familiar, yet it's entirely new. You can see, hear, and interact with digital content just like it's in your physical space.
Apple said that users of the Vision Pro will be able to select content inside the goggles with their eyes, tap their fingers together to click, and gently flick to scroll, while also using a three-dimensional camera and microphone system to capture videos and pictures that can be viewed in 3D later. In its most striking difference from Meta's headsets, the device also has an exterior display that shows the user's eyes to people in the outside world.
So in the same way that Mac introduced us to personal computing and iPhone introduced us to mobile computing, Apple Vision Pro will introduce us to spatial computing.
The exterior screen goes dark when a user is fully immersed in a virtual world. When a person approaches a user who is in a full virtual mode, the headset will show both the user and the outside person to each other. For work uses, Apple showed how the headset can be used with a trackpad and keyboard to work like a traditional computer with multiple displays. The Vision Pro has 2 hours of use with an external battery, similar to Meta's top-of-the-line Quest Pro mixed reality device. Besides the headset, Apple also displayed a raft of new products and features, including a 15-inch MacBook Air, a powerful chip called M2 Ultra, and improvements to its iOS software and autocorrect feature. Shares of the iPhone maker rose 2% to hit a record high ahead of the launch, but shares ended slightly lower after the announcement.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
Addiction to mobile phones, gaming, all be at different degrees, it is a problem plaguing almost every family nowadays. Kids who simply won't get off the phones, much to the dismay of their parents. Pankaj Gupta is one of them. His 8-year-old son and 4-year-old nephew both have battled addiction.
जब से ये कोरोना काल चला है, ऑनलाइन क्लासेस का प्रोग्राम जब से चला है, उसकी वजह से बच्चों को मोबाइल एडिक्शन लगा है। उसके बाद भी स्कूल वालों ने जैसे ऑनलाइन प्रोसेस रखा है अपना चालू, तो बच्चों को मोस्टली वर्कआउट जो है मोबाइल के कारण मिलता है, उसी कारण इनको मोबाइल एडिक्शन पड़ा है।
The addiction is to the level of the 4-year-old being able to unlock the phone and download games.
छोटे वाला है जो वो सोने के बाद मोस्टली लगता है, तो वो भी कई बार जैसे माँ बाप की आँख खुलती है, पता चलता है कि हाँ मोबाइल में लगा हुआ है। हमें कुछ भी नहीं करना पड़ता, बच्चे अपने आप ही सब कुछ कर लेते हैं। अच्छा। मोबाइल पे गेम्स डाउनलोड कर लेना, उसको चलाना, सब सीख जाते हैं अपने आप ही करते करते।
Experts say here are the signs to watch out to gauge if the child is addicted. The telltale signs are thinking about gaming all the time, losing interest in other activities, unable to quit playing or reduce screen time, using gaming to ease bad moods. It is no secret that mobile phones and gaming addiction is depriving kids of their childhood. The addiction, however, is hard to get rid of, but not impossible.
Self-guard young people on the interface that they have. I think that all of us have a role to play. Rather than just saying and telling a young person, don't use the phone, don't be online, don't play a game. I don't think that's the option here. The option should be effective usage of time and mindful about the content that you are absorbing and ensuring there is enough skill set that you have, that you don't get the negative impact of what you are observing.
As of now, it looks like each and every lower middle class or middle class household in the country has one or multiple such devices. Kids growing up with such technology are getting addicted to it. Living in virtual reality is actually hampering their mental and physical growth, and this is a major cause of concern. With Sneha Mordani and Nasir Khan, this is Abhishek Anand reporting for India Today.
Weather forecast now. Delhi, maximum 39 and minimum 26 degrees. Mumbai, maximum 30 and minimum 25 degrees. Kolkata, maximum 30 and minimum 25 degrees. Bangalore, maximum 30 and minimum 23 degrees. Chennai, maximum 35 and minimum 28 degrees. Hyderabad, maximum 32 and minimum 24 degrees.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
Presented by RP Sanjeev Goenka Group, Growing Legacies.
Co-presented by Century Ply Club Prime, Raho Befikar.
Co-presented by Macho Hind, Bade Aaram Se.
Powered by NECC, Sunday Hoya Monday, Roz Khao Ande.
Good evening and welcome. You're watching the news track. I'm Rahul Kanwal. After wowing audiences in the United States, Prime Minister Modi hits the campaign trail in Madhya Pradesh, responding first time to the efforts of the opposition to unify itself ahead of the next general elections. Will 2024 see Modi versus a united opposition? That's my top focus on the news track.
Prime Minister's fiercest attack on opposition. घोटाला.
एक एक को जरा देख लीजिए, उन सबका मिलकर के टोटल लगाएंगे तो ये सारे मिलकर के कम से कम 20 लाख करोड़ के घोटाले की गारंटी है.
डिनेस्टी.
आपको गांधी परिवार के बेटे बेटी का विकास करना हो तो फिर कांग्रेस को वोट दीजिए.
फोटो.
कुछ दिन पहले इनकी एक फोटो ऑप कार्यक्रम हुआ था. मिलकर के फोटो निकालने का एक कार्यक्रम हुआ था.
This sets the tone for 2024.
अगर उनकी घोटाले की गारंटी है तो मोदी की भी एक गारंटी है. हर चोर लुटेरे पर कार्रवाई की गारंटी.
Modi versus the rest. Big focus on news track.
Tushtikरण बनाम संतुष्टिकरण, appeasement versus satisfaction. That's the rubric the Prime Minister is trying to stitch for the 2024 elections. Will it work? Is it really the opposition promising guarantees and the Prime Minister saying this is only a guarantee for corruption? That's the only thing the opposition can really guarantee. So some of the strands that will play themselves out over the next several months emerging from that big speech the Prime Minister made in Bhopal. We'll dive into it, look at how the contest for 2024 is shaping up. Here's a look at the headlines I'm tracking tonight. Prime Minister makes a big declaration on one nation, one law, says Supreme Court wants the Uniform Civil Code implemented and that this will improve the status of Muslims.
अगर ये मुसलमानों के सही मायने में हितैषी होते तो अधिकांश परिवार मेरे मुस्लिम भाई बहन शिक्षा में पीछे न रहते.
Trouble mounts for Arvind Kejriwal, CAG to audit alleged financial irregularities in the CM bungalow renovation case. Report says around 53 crore rupees was spent on remodeling the Delhi CM's house. Siddaramaiah government set to form a special investigation team to probe alleged scam under the Bommai government. Congress accuses the BJP of Bitcoin, PSI and COVID scams. 2023 One-Day World Cup schedule is announced. Mega India versus Pakistan clash in Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad on the 15th of October. The World Cup finals on the 19th of November. Opposition hits out DCCI for ignoring Kerala, Mohali and many stadiums run by opposition-ruled states. Vladimir Putin thanks his military for stopping a civil war, says aborted rebellion played into the hands of Russia's enemies. From diplomacy to signing big bang deals in the United States, Prime Minister Modi dove head-on into domestic politics today, taking on a united opposition, which had met in Patna on the 23rd of June. The Prime Minister called out his opponents on ghotalas and dynasty. His fiery address in Bhopal setting the tone for the 2024 elections, where Prime Minister Modi tried to explain why he thought that even if the contest was Modi versus the rest, he believed he had won enough satisfaction of the Indian voter to be able to prevail in such a contest.
Back from the whirlwind tour of the United States and Egypt, Prime Minister Modi switched gears from diplomacy to domestic politics. Addressing a gathering of BJP workers in poll-bound Madhya Pradesh, the Prime Minister tore into mission opposition unity.
देखिए, ऐसे लोगों पर गुस्सा मत कीजिए, दया कीजिए उन लोगों पर. 2014 हो या 19, वो कितने ही घोर विरोधी थे, लेकिन उन दोनों चुनावों में हमने देखा कि इतनी छटपटाहट नहीं दिखी जितनी आज दिख रही है. जिन लोगों को कुछ लोग पहले अपना दुश्मन बताते थे, पानी पी पी कर कोसा करते थे, गालियां देते थे, अब उन लोगों को आगे जाकर वो साष्टांग प्रणाम कर रहे हैं, नतमस्तक हो रहे हैं.
The Prime Minister said that the opposition's common minimum program is to escape action against corruption.
सारे मिलकर के कम से कम 20 लाख करोड़ के घोटाले की गारंटी है. कांग्रेस का घोटाला ही अकेले लाखों करोड़ों का है. 1,86,000 करोड़ का कोयला घोटाला, 1,76,000 करोड़ का 2G घोटाला, आरजेडी हजारों करोड़ के घोटाले का आरोप है. चारा घोटाला, अलकतरा घोटाला, टीएमसी पर भी 23,000 करोड़ रुपए से ज्यादा के घोटाले का आरोप.
He declared the only guarantee that the opposition parties have is of घोटाला or scams.
अगर उनकी घोटाले की गारंटी है, हर घोटालेबाज पर कार्रवाई की गारंटी. जिसने देश को लूटा है उसका हिसाब तो हो करके रहेगा।
Then came an all-out attack on dynasty politics.
गांधी परिवार के बेटे बेटी का विकास करना हो तो फिर कांग्रेस को वोट दीजिए। आपको मुलायम सिंह जी के बेटे का भला करना है तो फिर समाजवादी पार्टी को वोट दीजिए। अगर आप लालू परिवार के बेटे बेटियों को उनका भला करना चाहते हो तो आरजेडी को वोट दीजिए। आपको शरद पवार जी की बेटी का भला करना हो तो आप एनसीपी को वोट दीजिए। आपको अब्दुल्ला परिवार के बेटे का भला करना हो तो आप नेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस को वोट दीजिए। आपको करुणानिधि जी के बेटे बेटियों पोते पोतियों का भला करना हो तो डीएमके को वोट दीजिए।
The opposition parties were ready with the counter.
Abusing the opposition parties, they are all big leaders. They came with a great majority. He is only doing all the corrupt people. He is only doing washing machine business.
There was a time in Maharashtra when his leaders were highlighting the scams of the MLAs who are now a part of the Eknath Shinde group.
जब से पटना में पूरे देश की धड़कनें इकट्ठा हुई हैं, तब से आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी अमेरिका से लेके उनका दिल जो है वो पटना की मीटिंग में फंसा हुआ है।
With his aggressive attack on united opposition, the Prime Minister has clearly set the tone for a Modi versus Rest battle in 2024. Bureau Report, India Today.
The last election was in Karnataka, largely a Kannadiga state and mostly people who speak the Kannada language. This is the Hindi heartland. This is where the Prime Minister's message connects the strongest, and this is where the Prime Minister hit the campaign trail, setting the context not just for the assembly elections at the end of the year but also the Lok Sabha elections, saying that my government guarantees corruption-free governance. All the opposition can guarantee is ghotalas or corruption. Vote for them if you want to vote for dynasty and corruption. Can Prime Minister Modi use the Santushtikaran shield, that day of appeasement, I am working towards satisfaction, satisfying our voters? Can this cut through the opposition's attempts to come together? To talk about this, we're joined in the studio by India Today's consulting editor, my colleague Rajdeep Sardesai. With us for perspective is Rahul Verma from the Center for Policy Research. For political perspective on this show, we're joined from the ruling BJP by Syed Zafar Islam and from the Congress by Salman Soos. I want to go across to Rajdeep first because we hadn't really heard the Prime Minister since the 23rd of June when the opposition did that united opposition meet in Patna. The Prime Minister was in the United States at the time. He's come down and seamlessly transitioned from talking about diplomacy to talking about politics. Can this plank work, that they guarantee corruption, I guarantee good governance?
Rahul, you know, it almost seems a sense of deja vu. When you look back at the campaign the Prime Minister has launched, and you could argue this is the launch of his 2024 election campaign, it's uncannily similar to what he did in 2018. You will recall in 2018, all the opposition party leaders got together at Kumaraswamy swearing in Bengaluru. This time they were in Patna. There were a few additions, a few minuses, but there was basically the same group. And the Prime Minister even then attacked them of being a Mahamilawat, of being people who are steeped in corruption and steeped in Parivarvad. And he's doing the same. It worked to a large extent in 2019, and he will believe that in this instance lightning could strike twice and it will work again in 2024. So I'm not surprised, Rahul, at all by the pitch the Prime Minister has taken, by the narrative that he's pushing, because that's exactly what he wants to make the 2024 elections about. He wants to suggest that this coalition is a coalition of opportunists who are there in a way for their own survival, and therefore please vote for me for stability. So he's clearly set the terms of engagement for the 2024 elections with the kind of speech he made in Bhopal today.
Salman Soos, a relatively similar campaign was fought by the opposition in Turkey, where 6 parties came together against President Erdogan. They put up a tighter fight than in previous elections, but in the end Erdogan won by about 5% plus points. That is the attempt that Prime Minister Modi is making, that if you want to vote for Sonia Gandhi's sons or for Karunanidhi's sons, grandsons or KCR's son and daughter vote for the opposition, vote for corruption. And he counted all the alleged scams adding up to 20 lakh crore rupees. That's the pitch he's taking to the Indian voter, Salman Soz.
Well, he is, but I don't think this is going to work this time. And, you know, when it comes to working with the Mufti family, Mr. Modi has no problem. When it comes to working with the Badal family, he has no problem. When it is the time for BJP to be, you know, promoting children of BJP leaders, it is not dynasty politics. But if it is in the opposition, it is. And I think people have understood what is going on. If the Prime Minister was really serious about what he calls Coalgate, what he calls some 2G scam, people are going to ask him, what have you really done about all this stuff? If there really was any truth to it, why hasn't action really been taken then? So, you know, the real scam is, and that is what people are going to vote on this time, that 12.5 lakh crore rupees of public sector banks loans have been written off. More than 26 lakh crore rupees have been taken in fuel taxes. What have people gotten for that? I'm sitting in Srinagar. Your LPG cylinder costs more than 1,200 rupees. You have 50% of the poor in this country who are paying 2/3 of the GST. Your petrol today in Delhi is, I think, 97 rupees. Meanwhile, your global crude prices have fallen below $75 and have been below $75 for a while. The real estate sector has been smashed. The MSMEs in this country have been smashed. The Wall Street Journal that just had an interview with Mr. Modi reports that Mr. Modi's vision is that there are 6 conglomerates in this country that are going to really power India's growth. So he's basically brought millions of small businesses to their knees.
Okay, let Syed Zafar Islam respond to the arguments that you're making, that if all these scams are indeed true. Yes.
One final point.
Okay. Okay.
A prime minister who does not utter a single word when a state is burning, when people are divided. You think people are going to keep quiet? Yes, it is the Hindi heartland that he speaks to, but his party is going to lose Chhattisgarh. They're going to lose Madhya Pradesh. They're going to lose, to mark my words, they're going to lose Rajasthan. And they're not going anywhere close in the fight in Telangana and in Mizoram. What happens? Mr. Modi is frustrated. I think he can see the writing on the wall. And I think that is why this opposition unity really rankles them. And that's
Syed Zafar Islam, you've now been in power for 9 years plus. If all these scams adding up to 20 lakh crore rupees are true, why aren't these leaders in jail? I mean, if the 2G scam, for example, was correct, you had 9 years to prosecute these netas instead of talking once again as if you're in opposition. Salman Soz and those in the Congress and those in the opposition will question, why haven't you been able to do anything about it? So it's not as easy as it was in 2014 for the Prime Minister to make these kind of comments and rally people, because people are now checking the track record.
Well, Rahul, if you are checking the track record, you also have to understand that it is not the Bharatiya Janata Party or Bharatiya Janata Party led government who has to send these people to the jail. We can also pursue the case, but it is the legal system, it is the law of the land, it is the judiciary, it is the judge who actually pronounced the judgment. It is not us. But we have to only highlight those issues which are actually...
No, so if you didn't get a conviction, it's not really a scam, sir. Only if you can convict someone is it a scam, otherwise it's an allegation.
No, that's what I said. The conviction, I mean, it is matter in the court. Court will pronounce the judgment, not us.
The court's already pronounced the judgment. That's the point.
No, court has already pronounced the judgment in one case, but there are many pending cases in the court, and eventually we'll find everyone behind the bar. What about Rahul Gandhi? Is he not on the bail?
But Rajdeep, this also bodes uncertainty. You were in Patna. You know, all these people, Nitish Kumar, Lalu Yadav, Rahul Gandhi. Okay, complete.
So, no, the other thing which I wanted to highlight that this kind of unity we have seen in the past. It is merely formality which we have seen in 2018. Many times in Brigade Ground, everyone was standing in Brigade Ground and saying that yes, they will dislodge Modi. It didn't happen because they were dislodged by the people of this great country. And all these formalities which they are doing now, eventually will find before even the 12th of July, when they are meeting again to finalize the finalize the common minimum program, that actually will suggest that this common minimum program is nothing but the license for them.
No, so there are 2 points I want to make, Rajdeep. You can't possibly have an opposition alliance stronger than, say, SP and BSP coming together in Uttar Pradesh, or for example the Congress and the Janata Dal Secular coming together in Karnataka, both of which happened in 2019, and the BJP won handsomely despite massive opposition unity in Uttar Pradesh and Karnataka. So just because the opposition leaders come together doesn't mean that the verdict changes much.
Rahul, alliance building is about chemistry and arithmetic. At the moment, what we've seen in Patna is an attempt at arithmetic. Let's all come together. Let's try and find out how we can find 300, 350 seats across this country where we can do one-on-one fights. But as we saw even in 2019, when there was a high level of index of opposition unity, almost 84%, and 2 of the states you mentioned, Uttar Pradesh and Karnataka, had a strong anti-BJP alliance, the BJP defeated the opposition. Because according to me, alliances are not just about arithmetic, they're about chemistry.
No, but can I just
You're going to have to find a narrative.
No, but it's not, Rajdeep, just about arithmetic and chemistry. It's about a narrative.
That's right.
Even if they have a chemistry, unless you have a narrative with which you go to the voters, what are you telling them? We don't like Modi. We want to see Modi out. He says they are rattled because the ED and the CBI on them because their corruption is being caught. The only thing that glues them is antipathy to Modi and fear of the investigative agencies.
No, Rahul, when I said chemistry, I mean narrative and direction and leadership and ideas. You know, it's not just, that's what I meant. It's not just arithmetic. At the moment, the opposition is looking at the prospect and the possibility of finding 300, 350, 400 seats where you can have one-on-one fights. Okay, so far so good for them. But they're also going to have to tell us what do they represent as a coalition. Because if they don't tell us that, then it will seem that this alliance has little more than just anti-Modism to offer. They're going to have to come up with a program which is attractive, which is alluring, wherein people believe that there is a clear sense of direction and leadership, even if it's not an individual that is leading them, but even as a grouping. They're going to have to tell us what they stand for. What is it that is common, for example, between a PDP and a Shiv Sena? What will be common between an Aam Aadmi Party and a Congress? Not just in terms of seat sharing, but in terms of what I said is the chemistry, what you described as narrative. I haven't seen that yet. Will that happen? Possible. You know, Rome is not built in a day. Patna isn't. So I'm not saying that what happened in Patna necessarily is the end game for the opposition, but the opposition needs to recognize that if they don't want 2024 to become what happened in 2019, they're going to have to give us a very compelling narrative as to why people should not just vote out the Modi government, but vote in an opposition alliance.
If you want to take down as powerful a prime minister and as popular a government as this, Rahul Verma, is the mere coming together of opposition forces enough, or do you think they need to come up with a cogent idea, a promise that voters buy into? Because in the absence of the idea, if your only glue is anti-Modiism or that investigative agencies are being misused against you, does that cut enough ice with the voters to be able to get them to vote against the BJP and this Prime Minister?
Thank you, Rahul. I agree with Rajdeep a lot on the 2 points he made. First, dynasty plus corruption narrative is not going to be surprising in the run-up to 2024. Prime Minister Modi is going to use it. He knows this is opposition's weak spot. And so he's going to continue using this idea, saying that all of them have come together because all of these parties are dynastic and there are charges of corruption, whether they are proven or not, that's a different matter. Second, your question in some ways answers it also. See, all elections are made up of, basically all election campaigns are made up of 5 things. First, you have to identify what your targeted constituency or group of citizens you are basically trying to mobilize. Second, what is your message? And message is basically based on your ideology, your performance, all those things, which is what you're calling as narrative. The third one is what is the machinery that you are going to use through organizations. In many cases, some of these organization parties may not be able to match BJP's machinery. Fourth is who's your messenger, who's the leader around which the message, around which the mechanics, everything is going to work. And five is without performance, you can't basically weave all of these together. So in some ways, see, you have to see Patna as the first step. It was the easiest step for opposition to take because many of these parties who came together, they have always, for last few months, they have been making this kind of noise. In many places, Congress is already in alliance with many of these players. So what happened in Patna is nothing sort of extraordinary. But this is the first step. They have taken it. Now they are planning to meet in Shimla. And I hope between Patna and Shimla, and by the time assembly election happens, the opposition does not only focuses on who's coming together, but also what their idea of India is going to be, on what ideological narrative they are going to challenge BJP and Modi.
Rajiv, how cohesive did they seem when you were speaking to these leaders in Patna? Did they seem like a ragtag coalition? You've covered a few coalition governments, and I just came back from the US and speaking to many congressmen, senators, and US political scientists. The one very clear sense is the reason why India is now being seen as an emerging great power as opposed to being seen as a middle power in years gone by is because of political stability, which is one of India's biggest plus points in the eyes of Western observers, that here is a government that's doing whatever it is, what's and all, even if you leave them aside for a moment, it's got political stability and get things done. Does a coalition prospect unsettle that?
Yes and no. I mean, if you look at coalition, some of the most radical reforms in this country, both in when Narasimha Rao was Prime Minister and when Dr. Manmohan Singh was Prime Minister and Atal Bihari Vajpayee was Prime Minister, took place during coalition governments. But what we saw, Rahul, and what I think is clear, is from 1989 right up to 2014, we had 25 years of coalition governments. And therefore, every year there was a question mark, will the government last? Because there was always someone or the other who could pull it down. In the last 8-9 years, whatever other questions have been raised about the Modi government, the one question that has not been asked, will this government last the entire 5 years? So I can see why an investor or why the world is looking at India as a relative oasis of stability. But stability alone is not enough. You see, you've also had 10 years of anti-incumbency. You asked me about whether you saw this as a ragtag coalition in Patna. Actually, I was surprised that barring Arvind Kejriwal, who seemed to be a bit of an X-factor taking on the Congress, demanding that the ordinance issue be raised, the rest of them, including strangely enough Mamata Banerjee, seem more than willing to break bread even with the left. I think this is an existential...
But how can she do it? It's not possible.
You see...
Well, think of it this way. On those seats of West Bengal, in this 42 seats, what can Mamata Banerjee give the left? You can possibly have an alliance with the rump of the Congress that's left in Murshidabad and a few other places. How do left, Congress and TMC fight together? It's inconceivable.
Sure. Look, that's the final step. Whether they do these 300, 400 one-on-one fights, whether that happens, you're absolutely right. There's a huge question mark in states like Bengal, in states like Kerala, in states like Delhi, in states like Punjab. There are huge question marks. I take that. But I think that's what, before you go into the arithmetic, this group is going to have to find the chemistry, the narrative which glues them together. What is it that is bringing Mamata Banerjee closer to the left, apart from the fact that she fears that if she doesn't tie up and the BJP wins another election, parties like the Trinamool Congress could face an existential crisis. I think that's the challenge. You see, these parties are going to have to tell the voters, we are not just opportunists. We have come to fight because we have a certain ideological core minimum program. That I haven't seen. I've seen them reach out to each other in Patna, but I've yet to see what is that ideological core that will go beyond just anti-Modism. No, I think that's the challenge.
Because it's not just Salman shows about the photo opportunity. At some point in time, it needs to be looked at from the perspective of how can you split seats. Let's take the example of the left, the Trinamool and the Congress in West Bengal, or the Congress and the left in Kerala. There is nothing that you can do unless they score a big self-goal and open a window of opportunity for the BJP in Kerala. There's nothing you can do which would allow for these three parties to do business with each other, given the animosity on the ground. So these photo opportunities, you got these shawls and stoles on the screen, Mamata Banerjee, putting a stole around Tejasvi Yadav. Yeah, sure, these look nice, but you have to talk numbers. That's where it gets down to brass tacks, Mr. Soos.
Rahul, first, before we get to the arithmetic, I know people have raised this question of what, can we get beyond anti-Modiism? Let me dispel some misconceptions here. This alliance is not anti-Modi, anti-RSS, anti-BJP. This alliance is about fundamentally a very different idea of India. Look, one thing that we have to really keep in mind is that there is a vast army of young people in this country who are unemployed, who don't have jobs, who don't have a future, who are losing hope. And the reason they are in this situation is directly linked to the policies followed by this government. And what is the opposition going to do? The opposition is going to say that on one hand, you have a vision where you basically tie yourself together with a few big industrial houses in this country and hope that those mega companies really power India's growth. On the other hand, what you can have is millions upon millions of small and medium enterprises creating jobs that our youth desperately need. So that's the economic plank. The second part of it is that we know this government, this ruling establishment has divided this country like no other party has done before. That is why we say, Muhabbat ki dukaan kholenge. That is the other part. India is strong when all Indians are together.
Okay.
That is the other part of what the
Let me put that question to Rajat Sethi. Rajat Sethi, 9 years of anti-incumbency does add up. Would you concede that just the idea of the opposition coming together makes it tougher? It doesn't change the nature of the verdict for certain, but it makes it tougher for the BJP to win the kind of majority that they did, because A, you've got 9 years of anti-incumbency, people have kind of heard and seen what they have, and therefore, if the opposition comes together to the extent that it does, it makes the life of Prime Minister Modi in his attempt to get re-elected a bit tougher than if the opposition was fragmented like it was in 14 and 19.
I agree with you, Rahul. I think we have touched upon the narrative, or the rather lack of narrative on the opposition side, the lack of clue. But we also need to look at what is the narrative that BJP is going to present, because that is also going to essentially cut through this opposition's agenda that, they're fighting for India and all of those things, higher ideals. How would BJP react? Would it be enough to just talk about the beneficiaries and the schemes, etc., or would BJP have to latch upon on issues like the Uniform Civil Code and drive down that agenda to every corner of the country? So that's an important question, and I think where BJP aces, and so far there have been enough evidences, is that it has been able to counter these narratives coming in from united opposition fronts over and over again. Salmanji was mentioning about jobs, for instance. Now, there are enough states under Congress rule or the opposition rule. There is no rosy picture coming in from any other part of the country. So when the opposition comes together, they don't have an alternative model to present before the public and say that, see, this is what we can do for you, and this is what BJP has done. So that comparative aspect of the narrative is currently lacking on the opposition front. And I think if BJP, sticks to the plan, there is no outlier event which happens and pulls down the BJP's narrative, I think BJP will be able to call them out again.
Rahul Verma, does Uniform Civil Code, in your view, work as a rousing election plank? We saw the Prime Minister speak about in Madhya Pradesh. Does it have enough purchase? The Ram Mandir issue most certainly had. Article 370 was quite polarizing and got people excited. Does UCC have the same kind of electoral purchase?
Yes and no. Yes, because it depends on how BJP is going to pitch this. So because it has been part of BJP's agenda, at least they can talk about it, raise some sentiments. But no, because in case of Ram Mandir or 370, you had to do one concrete thing, right? You can show what you are doing. Something like UCC, Uniform Civil Code, is a complicated set of procedures that you need to go through to bring that body of law, what you will call as Uniform Civil Code. And you might even basically make certain Hindu communities unhappy. In certain communities, the idea of sort of unified Hindu family or undivided Hindu family is very, very important. And so I'm not sure whether you can actually pull an election on UCC and make it a very, very emotive issue.
Rajdeep, where do you come out on this? Does UCC have enough purchase in the way that BJP turns matters into issues to be able to mobilize, rouse their voter ahead of the 2024 elections?
It will obviously rouse the BJP's core voter. It will rouse a section of the urban middle class, which in any case in recent elections has moved closer towards the BJP. It will give the BJP an opportunity to sort of push its Hindutva plank. Article 370 done, Ram Mandir done, now UCC done, or we will go in the direction
Can I contest what you're saying? Just to say that there isn't enough opposition, unlike, for example, say Article 370 or the Ram Temple, where there was a very strong opposition on the UCC. Even the Congress and the others aren't really opposing. So you got the likes of Owaisi who are opposing, but nobody is opposed to UCC.
Sure, but I can take credit, right? I will say I'm setting the agenda yet again. I'm the Prime Minister of the country. I'm setting the agenda. I'm setting a national debate on the UCC. Look, I think Mr. Modi is very clear with his pitch. He is the muscular nationalist. He is the one who's claiming I'm going to sort of transform India into a Hindutva ideal in a way. That's his pitch. The opposition has an opportunity, as we saw in Karnataka. In Karnataka, the fact that women, Dalit and the poor voted in much larger numbers for the Congress than they voted for the BJP gives the opposition a plank. You know, there was a leader in Patna who told me, if the Congress had any sense, they would make Mallikarjun Kharge their choice for Prime Minister. Look at the powerful symbolism in the times in which we live of a Dalit as your Prime Ministerial candidate. I mean, he was a lone voice, but that's the voice. You see, that's your hope. To create, if the opposition has any chance, offer a minimum income guarantee scheme that Rahul Gandhi spoke about at the last minute before the 2019 election. Come before it, you see, the Prime Minister, the genius, if I may say it, of Mr. Modi's political communication, he won't talk about Manipur because that's out of his comfort zone. He will talk about uniform civil code because he wants to trigger a national debate on it. Why doesn't the opposition trigger a debate on the minimum income guarantee scheme? Why is the opposition unable to take up one issue consistently and say, let's have a national debate on it? What the Prime Minister will now do, is my sense, over the next couple of months, get all the BJP leaders in different states to start talking about uniform civil code. He will not talk about his things outside his comfort zone, but uniform civil code is very much of his comfort
respond zone. To this, that Manipur's been burning for more than a month now. The Prime Minister hasn't uttered a word about the state and what's happening there. Why is that, sir?
When you talk about the Manipur, you know that most of the parties have been invited by the Honorable Home Minister to discuss about the issues. There are many parties actually didn't turn up. So the seriousness is known to everyone when the government is trying to bring everyone together and discuss about the issues, which is an internal issue. And that level of participation should have been there by all the political parties, but they didn't turn up. That shows that they are not sincere. We are doing what exactly needs to be done in Manipur, and everything will be resolved quickly. And the efforts are on by the Interior Ministry or the Home Ministry. But as far as the narrative which Sarban Sood was talking about, that narrative will not work, because people of this great country knows what the contribution was made in their life by this government in last 9 years. They have always given slogans, Bijli Pani Sadak, but they never did anything for the people of this great country. And now people realize that all the slogans were actually hollow. This government has worked hard to ensure that 9 crore people who are not getting water connection.
Are you concerned that universal basic income could be that one idea that the opposition tries to fling your way, and the idea that money will come if you're sitting at home? Whether the government can afford it, where will the money come from is all different. But as we've seen in Karnataka, people like promises where things are made available to them without them having to work hard for it. Is that of concern to you, that the universal basic income idea could be sticky for you to deal with? Syed Zafar Islam?
Is the question for me?
Yes, sir, it is.
Rahul, is the question for me?
Yes, sir, it is. Are you concerned about the prospects of the electoral traction the idea of a universal basic income can generate?
Sorry, Rahul, your voice was cracking. I was not able to hear last two sentences. So can you just repeat the question,
My
please?
question is, are you concerned that the idea of a universal basic income could help the opposition mobilize voters because they'll be promised income coming into their banks without them having to do anything about it as a minimum basic guarantee? We've seen guarantees work for them in Karnataka.
Rahul, they had attempted last time also in 2019. You can recollect it that they had come up with some scheme and eventually they didn't pursue it. Because they also know that the people who have received benefit from this government, they also know that this government is sincere about improving their lifestyle. They have provided, everything is being provided by the government. They also, government is also creating a good infrastructure for the people to lead a comfortable life.
Now, Salman, so you've been a banker in your past life. You know well, I don't know what you're going to say on TV, but you know well, one of the reasons why India is placed where it is globally at the moment is because we didn't do something as costly as universal basic income, despite the likes of Raghuram Rajan, Arvind Subramaniam, Abhijit Banerjee suggesting that we do, which is why our fiscal numbers are still relatively under control. Unlike a lot of other countries which are now facing very serious debt problems, India simply could not afford at the time of the pandemic or even later a universal basic income kind program. Now that's the reality. But still, you will throw the UBI grenade at the NDA, hoping that that takes the government down.
Well, first of all, anybody who just looks at the fiscal deficit number without looking at what's happening at the overall economy is not really an economist that one should be listening to. That's not how we actually do policy work. But I don't want to get into the policy part of it. I know our friend from the BJP will not really talk about substantive issues. Neither will the Prime Minister, by the way. The Prime Minister will keep quiet about Manipur. He'll keep quiet about China, even though China sits on Indian territory. He will not talk about unemployment. He will not talk about inflation. He won't talk about all these things. Of course, he should not. He will talk about things like the UCC, but I don't think that those things are going to fly because that is not what our people are interested in. I think in this election, what will happen is that people will say, look, we gave you a great mandate the first time around. And in the second time, we gave you another great mandate. Now we've given you all this time and you still keep distracting us. You still keep pushing fear instead of hope. You still cannot create jobs for us. You still go out, you make accusations about the opposition without doing anything about them. So I think my sense is that if Zafar Bhai is right, for example, and he says that Mr. Modi has done this, he's given them this, he's given people all these things, Ravenis, then they should win. But what is the reason that any reasonable analyst that you talk to these days, what is the reason that they're going to lose Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh?
You don't know that yet. You don't know that, sir.
And even Rajasthan.
Sir, if you've already announced the results for what will happen in December, then all of us can just go back home. We can just go back home. There's nothing for us to do. All of July, August, September, October, November and December, all of us can just chill, have a good time because Salman Soz already...
You know it, I know it.
Okay.
You know it, I know it. People are fed up. And by the way, if you want to know why people are not talking even more about these issues, it is frankly because of mainstream media, which is complicit in what Mr. Modi and the RSS and the BJP.
So you're here on TV saying exactly what you want. What complicity are you referring to? You've said what you wanted. Salman Soz has said what he wanted. I dismiss sternly the charge of any notion of complicity. That is out of the question. Here it is, Salman Soz on live TV talking about how he's not getting to speak and no one interrupted him at all. The irony is contained in that answer itself. But
anyway, you don't let me speak. I'm saying that you're not taking Mr. Modi's, what Mr. Modi has done to the country. You people are quiet about it because you fear this this regime. That's why the press freedom index is where it is. Why? I mean, come on, this is an open secret. This is everybody knows. So let's just let's not talk too much about it.
Okay, so what we've seen during this show is the Congress put out its narrative. The Prime Minister this morning laying out the BJP's narrative for the 2024 elections, which he hopes will carry him through the assembly election as well. Nobody likes the media, which is fine. The BJP thinks you're always anti-us, anti-Modi media, and the Congress thinks the opposite. We live with that. It's no big deal. We just do our job. do it as well as we possibly can, go back home to our family and our friends, and let the BJP and the Congress say exactly what they please. I'm slipping into a break. It'll be exciting. I promise you it's not quite as easy as Salman So says it is, because if it were, then there'd be nothing to talk about over the next 6 months. But there is a lot, because the future of this country rides on what happens in the next general elections. I'm slipping into a break. When we come back, President Putin plots his next move as Prigozhin is set to land in the Belarusian capital. What's happening in the Russia-Ukraine war? Details from the battlefield coming up next.
Best colleges of the country. Which one will boost your aspirations? From courses to placements, know them all. India Today Best Colleges Survey 2023. Issue out this Friday, 23rd June. Subscribe now to indiatoday.in/subscribe.
The $2.75 billion Micron tech plant will produce its first semiconductor chip in 18 months. The plant, announced during the recent visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to the US, will be situated in Gujarat's Sanand industrial area. Meanwhile, the IT, Electronics and Telecom Minister Ashwini Vaishnav also made it clear that the Vedanta Foxconn JV will have to apply for a chip-making license again.
माइक्रॉन करीब 6 क्वार्टर्स यानी 1.5 वर्ष में प्रोडक्शन स्टार्ट कर देगा. ये भी रिकॉर्ड टाइम बनेगा. रिकॉर्ड टाइम में प्रोडक्शन होगा. किसी भी देश में नई इंडस्ट्री स्थापित करना, नई इंडस्ट्री, नई फैक्ट्री स्थापित करना और उसमें पहला प्रोडक्शन 1.5 वर्ष के अंदर अंदर आना. तो दिसंबर 2024 का टारगेट लेके चल रहे हैं, जिसमें पहली मेड इन इंडिया चिप, सेमीकंडक्टर चिप बन के निकलेगी. दूसरा आपका प्रश्न वेदांता से रिलेटेड है. वेदांता फॉक्सकॉन का जो प्रपोजल है, आपने देखा कि जैसे जैसे इंडस्ट्री की फीडबैक मिली, उसके फीडबैक के हिसाब से सेमीकंडक्टर प्रोग्राम को मॉडिफाई किया गया. तो मॉडिफिकेशन के हिसाब से जो भी एग्जिस्टिंग एप्लीकेंट्स थे, उन सबको ऑप्शन है कि वो मॉडिफिकेशन के हिसाब से अपनी एप्लीकेशन को रीसबमिट करें. तो जब वो रीसबमिट करेंगे, उस हिसाब तब उनका इवैल्यूएशन होगा. तीसरा शहर कौन सा है? सानंद शहर है, जिसमें माइक्रॉन के सामने बहुत सारे ऑप्शंस थे. उन सब ऑप्शंस में से उन्होंने सानंद को चूज किया है. वहाँ पे वो लोग प्लांट लगाएंगे. वहाँ हर तरह की इंडस्ट्रियल फैसिलिटीज़ है. वाटर सप्लाई इसमें बहुत अल्ट्रा प्योर चाहिए. पावर सप्लाई एकदम स्टेबल चाहिए, अल्ट्रा स्टेबल चाहिए. वो सब चीज़ें सारी फैसिलिटीज़ वहाँ पर है.
Quality today. In Delhi, 82. In Mumbai, 53. In Kolkata, 32. In Bangalore, 63. In Chennai, 82. In Hyderabad, 57.
Why does this happen? Let me tell you the science behind it.
For more informative videos like this, keep watching India Today News Mode.
President Vladimir Putin spoke to his military days after the Wagner insurrection. He thanked his forces for stopping a civil war and blamed the West for wanting Russians to kill each other. Meanwhile, the Wagner chief is about to land in Minsk. The question is, what happens next?
Russian mercenary chief Yevgeny Prigozhin landed safely in Belarus from Russia on Tuesday morning. Flight Radar 24 tracked his business jet taking off from the Rostov region in Russia and descending near Minsk in Belarus. The Wagner chief was the first to avail the escape route offered by Russian President Vladimir Putin.
I thank those soldiers and commanders of Wagner Group who made the only right decision. They did not go to fratricidal bloodshed. They stopped at the last line. Today, you have the opportunity to continue serving Russia by entering into a contract with the Ministry of Defense or other law enforcement agencies, or to return to your family and friends. Whoever wants can go to Belarus. The promise I made will be fulfilled.
Данное мною обещание будет исполнено.
The charge of mounting an armed mutiny carries a punishment of up to 20 years in prison in Russia. Wagner mercenary chief Yevgeny Prigozhin escaped the dire future as the Russian authorities said that they have closed a criminal investigation into the rebellion and no charges will be imposed against him or any of the other participants, just as the president indicated in his speech. But then, Putin has a bigger enemy to fight. He has trained his gun at Kyiv leadership and the West.
Именно такого исхода братоубийства
It was precisely this outcome, fratricide, that Russia's enemies wanted. Both the neo-Nazis in Kyiv and their Western patrons and all sorts of national traitors. They wanted Russian soldiers to kill each other, to kill military personnel and civilians, so that in the end, Russia would lose and our society would split, choke in bloody civil strife.
захлебнулась в кровавой междоусобице.
West, keenly monitoring Russian development, denied any hand in the Wagner uprising.
I also convened our key allies on a Zoom call to make sure we're all on the same page. It's critical that we're coordinated in our response and coordinated in what we to anticipate. They agreed with me that we had to make sure we gave Putin no excuse. Let me emphasize, we gave Putin no excuse to blame this on the West or to blame this on NATO. We made clear that we were not involved. We had nothing to do with it. This was part of a struggle within the Russian system.
After a tumultuous weekend mutiny in which the Russian mercenary chief exposed Kremlin's vulnerability, Moscow is working hard to gloss things over to justify and blame the rest of the world for its predicament. Bureau Report, India Today.
This is where we wrap up the news track tonight. For your time and your trust, thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you at 8 p.m. tomorrow evening. Till then, from all of us here, goodbye, good night.
Despite the recent rally, but returns have been sort of lukewarm for Indian equity investors, 10-11% kind of return over a 2-year period, which is a bit subpar. So are you confident that the next couple of years will make up for what has been a fairly pedestrian run for the last 24 months?
And actually, the returns that you've seen in Indian equity markets and in Indian small cap and mid caps have been about one of the best in the world at this point of time in the last 24 months. So while it may appear that the returns have been modest, I would say it is one of the best returns that you've got anywhere in the world. If you look at the future, I would say that, we are in a very, very structurally in a very, very good shape. And that geopolitically we are in a very, very good shape. And from a macroeconomic point of view also, we are in a very, very good shape. And but having said that, the challenge is that from a valuation perspective, we are one of the costliest markets in the world. And Outside US, I would say we are one of the costliest markets at this point of time. So even going forward, it's tough to believe that you can get very big returns in the long run, in the medium run, I mean. But it is still India is one of the best markets to invest in for the long run. And because it's a very, very good structural story. But if the valuations were to become more reasonable, I think India would be a great market where you can get both good long-term returns and big long-term returns. Whereas today, because of valuation, it's difficult to predict very high returns at this point.
If you had to guess, and I know it's an impossible question to answer, but over the next 2 to 3 years, which we can classify as medium term, do you think the chances of Indian investors getting 10-11% kind of returns from equity are higher, or 50% plus kind of returns, which is essentially the desirable return for most Indian equity investors?
In late 90s, you could get 16 to 18% in many debt products. So at that point of time, I would say it was necessary for you to get 20% per annum to invest in equity. Today, you're not getting that kind of return. So as long as you get better returns than an alternate asset class, I think it is fairly attractive. And having said that, there are so many geopolitical imponderables which none of us know. And what can hurt markets in the near term? Do we know? The answer is certainly not. Did anyone expect the Ukraine war? The answer is no. Did any of us know that this would be a problem in 2022? The answer is no. So I think we all think that we know what will happen to markets, but periodically certain things happen in markets which we can't predict, and that is the reason why systematic investment plans and asset allocation are the two best ways to invest for most people in the long run.
Posted. Oh, we're rolling? Wait a minute. Story posted, WhatsApp sent. So much to do, but I think it's a good idea to occasionally disconnect from your smartphone, or at the very least from social media. However, the majority of us still need our phones with us so we can make calls and send messages. Of course, you can leave your phone at home when you go out, and in my case, hopefully my cellular smartwatch as well. But the issue arises sometimes when you end up wasting an excessive amount of time scrolling and swiping away on mindless games and apps. Studies have actually shown that if you get addicted to your smartphone, it could possibly affect your relationships, mental health, and productivity. So sometimes it might be wise to take a step back and disconnect or detox from an increasingly connected world. Ironically, technology comes to the rescue here in the form of apps that can aid the process. So we've compiled a special Tech Today list of these apps which can really help you digitally detox and break this addiction for you in a matter of a few clicks. An excellent all-around digital detox app is App Detox. Literally, you can choose which apps you want to limit using this very app. Then you can make specific guidelines. You can decide, for instance, how many times you can open a given app and what time of the day you want access to it. You can view your app usage and completely block particular apps. Cleverest. The goal of Cleverest is to assist you in segmenting tasks. It is simple and straightforward as a user experience. Set a time limit and maintain your focus for that length of time. If you do, your avatar will prosper and expand. The Pomodoro technique, which suggests dividing things into manageable portions to help you stay motivated and focused, is the foundation of this very app. Forest. This app for digital detox won't disable your social media accounts, but rather creates a game-like situation to keep you focused. Open this app, plant a seed, and focus on the task at hand without being distracted by your phone. The timer will then start, and your seed will develop into a tree. Your tree will perish and you'll have to start over if you answer your phone before the timer expires. Procrastinators will appreciate it. Additionally, the program encourages you to spend the virtual coins you earn each time you develop a tree, and Forest will actually plant a tree as a result. You'll not only maintain your concentration better, but you'll also be planting new trees in the actual world. You can view your forest, which is exactly what it sounds like, and measure your progress over time. Just like with other top digital detox apps on this list, a virtual forest will contain a representation of each tree you've grown. Continue producing and expanding your forest.
Sorry.
नए दौर में दोस्ताना हमारा अब देखेगा जलवा ज़माना हमारा ये डीलों के दिन कुछ हिसाबों के दिन कई दिल जलों को जवाबों के दिन डिफेंस फील्ड में अच्छे ख्वाबों के दिन है वेलकम अमेरिका में जी मेहरबान मेरे जैसा फ्रेंड भी मिलेगा कहाँ ऑटोग्राफ को दिल दीवाना हमारा अब देखेगा जलवा ज़माना हमारा.
Co-presented by Star Health Insurance, the health insurance specialist.
Co-presented by JK Tyre Ranger Series, stay wild at heart. Co-presented by Hayfler, let's reimagine. Powered by NECC, Sunday hoya Monday, Rose Khaw Monday.
Good evening, hello and welcome. You're with the news today. This is your primetime destination. News, newsmakers, talking points. Tuesday night, the big talking point, Prime Minister Modi's big pitch for a uniform civil code. Is this going to be his agenda for the 2024 elections? Will it, among other things, influence Muslim voters? We'll tell you more about the Prime Minister's UCC pitch. But first, as always, it's time for the 9 headlines at 9. Prime Minister Modi hits out at the opposition alliance, calls it an alliance of corruption and scams, names and shames what he describes as Ghotala dynastical netas. In a speech in Bhopal, Prime Minister Modi makes a declaration of one nation, one law, says Supreme Court wants a uniform civil code, insists it will improve the status of Muslims. The opposition hits back, says the Prime Minister is playing politics. Mission opposition unity hits roadblocks after Congress versus AAP in Delhi and Congress versus TMC in Bengal. It's Congress versus left in Kerala over the arrest of the Congress leader Sudhakaran. Trouble mounts for Arvind Kejriwal in Delhi. CAG to audit alleged financial irregularities in the Chief Minister's bungalow renovation. Reports say around 53 crores was spent on remodeling. Kejriwal hits back, says it's part of the BJP's attempt to destroy his government. Siddaramaiah government in Karnataka set to form a special investigation team to probe alleged scams under Bommai government. Congress accuses BJP of Bitcoin, PSI and COVID scams. Rahul Gandhi to visit strife-torn Manipur on 29th and 30th June. He will visit relief camps, interact with civil society representatives in Imphal and Churachandpur in the strife-torn state. The Prime Minister has not commented so far on Manipur. Elections to 10 Rajya Sabha seats will be held on the 24th of July, to be held in 3 states, Goa, Gujarat and West Bengal. 2023 ODI World Cup schedule is out. Mega India versus Pakistan clash in Ahmedabad Narendra Modi Stadium on October 15. World Cup final on November 19. US journalist Sabrina Siddiqui faces online harassment after posing a question to Prime Minister Modi in Washington, D.C. White House condemns it, calls journalist harassment unacceptable. But first, tonight's top story. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has made his first major pitch for a one nation, one law uniform civil code ahead of the 2024 elections. Mr. Modi was in poll-bound Madhya Pradesh, batting for the implementation of a uniform civil code. Mr. Modi claimed that the Supreme Court supported it and believed that this would also help the lot of poorer Muslims who he claimed had lost out because there was no UCC. The opposition hit out, calling it a direct attack of the Prime Minister on simply seeking votes and not really being serious about the legislation. Remember, the Prime Minister is now clearly in election mode. It's our top focus tonight.
परिवार के दूसरे सदस्य के लिए दूसरा कानून हो तो क्या वो घर चल पाएगा क्या? जब भी जहां जाता हूं वो भाजपा के साथ खड़ी रहती है, मोदी के साथ खड़ी रहती है.
After his forceful defense of his government's track record in securing minorities during his US trip, Prime Minister Narendra Modi made a big push for one nation, one law.
जो एयर कंडीशन कमरों में बैठकर
Modi said that Muslims only stand to benefit from a uniform law and accused the opposition of brainwashing the minority community and demonizing the UCC.
हर मौसम आजकल हम देख रहे हैं कि यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड के नाम पर ऐसे लोगों को भड़काने का काम हो रहा है. आप मुझे बताइए, एक घर में परिवार के एक सदस्य के लिए एक कानून हो, परिवार के दूसरे सदस्य के लिए दूसरा कानून हो, तो क्या वो घर चल पाएगा क्या? कभी भी चल पाएगा क्या? फिर ऐसी दोहरी व्यवस्था से देश कैसे चल पाएगा?
Modi said his government has been taking steps to benefit all sections including Muslims, and those backing triple talaq are only doing grave injustice to Muslim women.
मुझे लगता है कि जो भी 3 तलाक के पक्ष में बातें करते हैं, 3 तलाक की वकालत करते हैं, ये वोट बैंक भूखे लोग मुस्लिम बेटियों के साथ बहुत बड़ा अन्याय कर रहे हैं।
Opposition leaders were quick to hit back at the Prime Minister, saying One India, One Law was a direct attack on the Muslim community.
मोदी जी ने कोई ड्राफ्ट रखा नहीं इस देश के सामने। आनंद मैरिज एक्ट पे जो सिखों के लिए है उस पर यूसीसी में क्या होगा? जैन धर्म के लिए कुछ कानून बने स्पेशल, उस पर यूसीसी में क्या होगा? मोदी जी और भारतीय जनता पार्टी को देश को बेवकूफ़ बनाने के बजाय एक ड्राफ्ट रखना चाहिए पहले। यूसीसी में वो करना क्या चाहते हैं? उसका दस्तावेज कहाँ है? मैं तो खोज रहा हूँ, दस्तावेज दीजिए पहले।
AIMIM chief Asaduddin Owaisi accused the Prime Minister of shedding crocodile tears for Muslims.
भारत के प्रधानमंत्री भारत की डाइवर्सिटी को, प्लुरलिज्म को एक प्रॉब्लम समझते हैं। यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड की जब बात प्रधानमंत्री कर रहे हैं, वो यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड की नहीं बात कर रहे, वो हिंदू सिविल कोड की बात कर रहे हैं। पूरे जो इस्लामिक रेफरेंसेस है प्रैक्टिसेस के, उसको वो इलीगल ट्रीट करेंगे और पूरे हिंदू प्रैक्टिसेस को प्रधानमंत्री अंडर द लॉ प्रोटेक्ट कर लेंगे।
UCC has been part of most of the BJP manifestos and also a mandate from the Supreme Court which wants legal parity of all religions. Bureau Report, India Today.
So let's raise the big questions now. Is the Uniform Civil Code an idea whose time has come? Or is the BJP using the Uniform Civil Code simply as an election ploy? Will the Uniform Civil Code influence Muslim votes and Muslim vote banks? Can Hindutva politics coexist with a prime ministerial Muslim outreach? Just some of the questions we'll ask. Joining me now will be Zakia Soman, women rights activist and co-founder of the Bharatiya Muslim Mahila Andolan. A. Sarvanan is lawyer and DMK spokesperson. Flavia Agnes, women rights activist who's been writing and fighting extensively on the issue. And Sanju Verma, BJP spokesperson. Thank you all very much for joining me. Before I come to the politicians, I want to come to you, Zakia and Flavia, because you've spent a lifetime raising these issues. First to you, Zakia Soman. Do you believe Uniform Civil Code is an idea whose time has come, that Muslim communities, across communities, should look at laws which are gender-friendly in particular?
So Uniform Civil Code has always been about gender justice, but somehow the politics has always overtaken at the time of independence as well as now. But that does not take away from the fact that India's women, and particularly Muslim women, are denied legal rights in the absence of a codified Muslim family law. Because there is a reformed Hindu family laws. There are some 8 or 9 Hindu laws which are giving several rights to Hindu women. So I will just give one example, despite the fact that Hindu marriage was at one point of time considered Janam Janam Ka Bandhan, it is no more so once the Hindu Marriage Act was passed by the Parliament. Similarly, the age of marriage has also been set at 18 and 21. The bigamy is punishable by law. There is a provision of law for 495 where bigamy is punished. But all these benefits which were taken in the direction of gender justice, out of which Hindu women benefited and Christian women also benefited because they became entitled for divorce under the amendments made to the Indian Divorce Act in 2001. But Muslim women were systematically discriminated against and denied the protection of law to which they are entitled by the Constitution of India, to which they are entitled Quranically speaking also. Several of the affirmative provisions in the Quran, for instance, consent, for instance, right to meher, for instance, share in property, these could not translate into reality because there are no laws backing these rights which have been granted in the Quran. So,
so you're saying, correct me if I'm wrong, you're saying Muslim personal laws, which today in a way are used by certain extremist forces, or dare I say conservative forces, prevent Muslim women from getting the same rights that Hindu women have, which they got through the codification of the Hindu Code Bill. Am I correct?
Yes, Yes.
And you
because
would
there has
argue
been
for the same for Muslim women?
Yes, because Muslim women are also entitled to codified Muslim family laws.
Okay.
But that could not happen because of resistance from the conservatives and the kind of politics which played out.
But you're saying the time has come to end with end that resistance. Am I correct?
Yes, time has come for gender justice and gender equality and legal parity for Muslim women and for all gender diversities, which are part of our country.
Flavia Agnes, is it as simple as that? Because there are laws across communities which will have to be in a way revised, reviewed if we are to bring a uniform civil code. Is this some magic bullet that Prime Minister ne keh diya, tomorrow there'll be a uniform civil code?
Absolutely, absolutely. And why now? Why the election mode campaign starts with a call for UCC? See the political motivation here. And the entire discourse was how Muslim women are deprived. Now, how Hindu women are deprived is no mention at all. Yes, it is codified, but does it give justice? What about the Hindu undivided family property and the tax concession that is given to Hindus through it? Will the UCC abolish this? Will the UCC abolish all the privileges given to Hindu men? There is no question. The PM is silent on this. He's only talking about, Zakia is also talking about Muslim women have no right, Muslim women have no right. Triple talaq. Triple talaq is already criminalized. Triple talaq is already invalidated. Yes, you're whipping the same horse and say triple talaq is allowed. What more can
so
anybody do?
You're saying a uniform civil code debate, if it is to be rational, will also have to look at existing deprivations that Hindu women suffer in terms of property. It will have to look at gender disabilities that Muslim women suffer. It will have to be all encompassing. It cannot target just one community. Am I correct?
Absolutely. And the entire PM's speech today was about Muslim women and how sad they are and how problematic they are. And Zakia is endorsing the same thing, saying that Muslim women are under deprivation.
Okay.
Nobody is denying that.
Okay.
Hindu women are under deprivation, Muslim women are under deprivation. Is the answer to it is a uniform civil code or is it reform within personal law? That is my question.
What is your answer to that? What is your answer? You believe there should be reform within personal laws?
We have been demanding codification of Muslim family laws for now almost 20 years. But none of the so-called religious leadership or social leadership have at all responded. Even Flavia is only mentioning it now. So I'm saying that Muslim women have waited for their lifetime to have a legal parity. Why, as citizens of India, they are also entitled to legal protection just the way the Hindu women and the Christian women are enjoying.
Okay.
So is it too much to ask for legal justice and legal parity?
Okay.
Even
So
after
the question,
70 years of India's independence.
I take your point, but Flavia Agnes, are you saying that I think we all agree every woman deserves today gender-friendly laws. Is your view, Flavia Agnes, that it can only happen through a uniform civil code?
My question, not my view. I'm questioning, is it only through a uniform civil code that we can get it? How did Christian women change their law? Very specifically, they changed the right of divorce of Christian women. Very specifically. Similarly, Hindu code bill has 4 different legislations. There was a lot of debate and finally it came through. Now, having the similar thing can happen with the Muslim community. The leadership,
yes, but it hasn't happened.
Activists like Zakia,
no, I take your point, but it hasn't happened. For 75 years, it hasn't happened.
Yeah, that's true.
Exactly. It has not happened. 2018, 21st Law Commission report brought out many lacunas for gender justice. That inequality within different personal laws, and it highlighted that And he said that we don't need a UCC, but we need these reforms within personal laws. Now that, according to me, still stands.
Okay.
Now what is the rationale for bringing in UCC if it's not a political game here for election purposes? I'm not against reforming the Muslim code will.
Let me stop you, because 3 times you've said this is a political game. And Sanju Verma, that's the question. The Prime Minister appears to be linking Uniform Civil Code with the condition, he says, of Muslim women, especially backward caste Muslims. This is a Prime Minister who doesn't say a word when it comes to Bilkis Bano. In fact, the Gujarat government is accused of giving remission to her convicts. Then we don't hear the Prime Minister weeping for Muslim women. But now suddenly, 1 year to go for elections, you're in Madhya Pradesh, a poll-bound state, you're raising this to start trigger off a national debate. Is this to trigger off a national debate? Or is this a pure election ploy, as his critics are claiming?
Rajdeep, you know, I'm appalled that you have brought Bilkis Bano into this. The moment you mention Bilkis Bano, I would like to remind you, Rajdeep Sardesai, that you are the same person who has not said a word in the recent past about how Rahul Gandhi's esteemed father, Rajiv Gandhi, the then Prime Minister, overturned a historic judgment in 1985 pertaining to the Shah Bano case. And what did Rajiv Gandhi do? He brought in the Muslim Divorce Protection Act of 1986.
It was wrong. I said it. Sanju Verma, I was doing, Sanju Verma, we have all criticized the Shah Bano, we have all criticized Rajiv Gandhi on Shah Bano.
Stop talking over me.
No, you must correct yourself. You must correct yourself. I have very clearly criticized on more than one occasion in editorial comment the Prime Minister's stand on Shah Bano. Now go ahead.
Now let me tell you one thing.
Yes.
You keep tweeting about everything that is anti-government. You know, you have spoken about the Manipur files, and I will bring Manipur because you brought in Bilkis Bano. Rajdeep Sardesai becomes like the 3 monkeys, deaf, dumb and mute when it comes to the Bengal files, where people are being butchered day in and day out, especially BJP Karyakartas. The Kolkata High Court and Supreme Court have come down heavily on Mamata Banerjee, saying law and order has taken a flying leap out of the window. Has Rajdeep Sardesai spoken even
Can we come back to Uniform Civil Code? Can we come back to Uniform Civil Code? What's your view? A simple question. Flavia Agnes says it's a political ploy. Most of us believe it's an idea whose time has come. Now you tell us.
Do not heckle. You are not the panelist, you are the anchor. Behave like an anchor. Thank you. Let me tell you, Rajdeep, that the Uniform Civil Code under Article 44 of the Constitution falls under the ambit of the directive principles of state policy.
Yes.
And I'm sure Flavia Agnes and everybody else on this panel knows that directive principles of state policy have not got legal sanctity under the Constitution. That is precisely the reason that while Uniform Civil Code should have been a law, maybe yesterday you and me are still debating about it. But I want to say one very interesting thing. It was way back in 1985 for the first time when the Supreme Court and then the Chief Justice was Justice Y.V. Chandrachud, the father of the current Chief Justice, and he said this. I'm reading it out ad verbatim without adding my own full stops or commas. A common civil code will help the cause of national integration by removing disparate loyalties to law which have conflicting ideologies. The Apex Court also said that it is a matter of great regret that Article 44 has remained a dead letter, and Justice Kuldeep Singh in Sarla Mudgal versus the Union of India in 1995 said it's time to ensure that UCC becomes a law and UCC does not remain consigned to the dustbin of history. And recently, Justice Suneet Kumar of the Allahabad High Court in 2021 said that personal laws run subservient to the Constitution. And I will remind Flavia a very interesting thing. There was the famous Molly Joseph versus the George Sebastian case in 1996, where the petitioner on behalf of these two said that divorce should be granted as per the church. And the Supreme Court said that only a divorce granted to the Christian couple by the courts in India will be valid and not a divorce granted by the church. And that judgment was held upheld rather in 2017 when Justice Kehar was the Chief Justice, and he repeated the same thing, that personal laws remain subservient to the Constitution and Uniform Civil Code should be law without further delay.
Can I ask you therefore? I need Sanju Verma. Can I therefore ask you? Can I therefore ask you a simple?
And do not trivialize the issue.
Ma'am, no one is trivializing the issue. Ma'am, I want to ask you a straight question before I move on, and I want a short answer to this. You've been in power for 9 years. You are a majority government. You could have triggered this debate in the last 9 years inside Parliament. Now we've got 1 year to go, less than a year to go to the elections. We've come up with the Uniform Civil Code and a national debate. In 2018, the Law Commission made it very clear. Law Commission appointed by your government suggested that this was not the time they believed for a Uniform Civil Code. There were other ways in which you could ensure gender-friendly laws. No one denies that you need gender-friendly laws, that Muslim women need the same benefits that other women get. But could your government have not done this much earlier? Why now? Very quickly, ma'am.
Okay, very quickly I will say this. I'm glad that you're holding the BJP to high standards of accountability. Yes, this could have been done much earlier, but please note that as recently as the 29th of March 2023, it was at the behest of the erstwhile Law Minister Kiren Rijiju, who had filed a petition through Tushar Mehta, the SG, in October 2022, that on 29th March 2023, the Supreme Court said it is not the domain of the court. This is the domain of the Parliament and the legislature, and if the legislature deems fit, then UCC should become a law, and I think that means that the debate will soon be over and this will be a law before we run into 2024.
You're saying it's important. You're telling me it will be a law before 2024, that Parliament will pass a law. Sanju Verma is claiming that this will become a law before 2024. Mr. Saravanan, you want to respond? You've just heard. In a way, Mr. Modi is trapping you, because if you oppose it, you will be seen as gender unfriendly. Therefore, is the opposition ready to have this debate on the Uniform Civil Code? Surely it's a debate whose time has come. I come from Goa, a state which has inherited the Uniform Civil Code in a way from Portuguese, and it's not harmed anyone. Why not at least have the debate? Why not trigger off the debate in Parliament?
Rajdeep, that is probably because Goa is not indicative of the diverse culture as that of India. So that is why Goan example cannot be fitted across the country.
No, why not? Goa has Goa has a large Christian minority population. Goa has a large Hindu population. We now have Muslims who live in Goa. I mean, are we saying that a uniform civil code will go against the diversity of India? Surely in the 21st century, all that we want is gender-friendly, gender-neutral laws.
Yes, absolutely. I'll come to that, Rajdeep. See, the problem is this. The Prime Minister is smarting from his disastrous press conference. Probably he acceded. Probably his constituents here wanted him to oppose whatever the question that has been put out in the White House. He said, we are protecting the minorities. Probably he wants to put a dog whistle. That dog whistle is this Uniform Civil Code. It is not possible. You clearly pointed out that the 2018 Law Commission's report, Mr. Chauhan said it is unnecessary. And he also stated what we need is only gender-neutral laws, gender-friendly laws. For a vast country like India, it is untested and we don't want it. Why would the union government go against the recommendations of the Law Commission? The Law Commission has been constituted specifically for this purpose. And let us leave other religions.
What do you fear? Mr. Saravanan, what is the fear? What is the fear if at all India has a uniform civil code tomorrow?
The fear is this. This is used as a political tool. We are having Article 25, which says you can practice, you can have your own religious ways to do what you want. This will be discrimination. This will run afoul of Article 14. See, Article 14 also means unequals should not be treated equally. See, even in Hindu culture, certain cultures allow consanguineous marriages. Certain cultures won't allow consanguineous marriages. So how are you going to reconcile all these things? Is that not such a huge exercise? Why do you want to do this now? You asked a very pertinent question. Why now? Why now? Because the union government is unable to defend itself on what it has done for the people of the country. They have not done anything.
This
And
is
now,
absolute
one minute,
the
Mr.
people,
Saravanan.
just a minute, Rajdeep, let me complete this.
Yes.
The people of
No,
India.
no. Sanju Verma, don't intervene, please.
Yeah, the people of India are smart enough to understand that gimmickry, this rhetoric is not going to work anymore.
Okay.
People will
You're calling it a gimmick. Just a minute. You made your point, sir. Mr. Saravanan, Saravanan, you made your point. Zakia Soman, you're seeing two sides of the debate. Do you fear that Muslim women once again get caught within this debate? Because it's become a shrill political debate, we don't recognize the importance of having gender-friendly laws. As you said, there are enough elements within the Muslim community who've resisted the codification of personal laws.
Yeah, I think I fully agree with what you're saying, because the spirit is about gender justice and gender equality that has got completely lost in the politicization of this issue. And I also believe that all the political parties need to collaborate on this, because only an inclusive document can point towards the direction of gender justice for India's women. And the 30-day time period given by the Law Commission of India is highly insufficient. It calls for very elaborate deliberations and discussions. And I think it should not be seen, as a opposition versus BJP kind of an issue. Although I agree that this is being raised by the Prime Minister and by the BJP. It's part of their manifesto. It is being raised in the run-up to the 2024 election, which is doing no good, which is only doing.
So you're calling for the debate to be depoliticized in a way. Would you, therefore, Flavia, Agnes, at least agree that it's important to trigger off the debate? We can't sweep this issue under the carpet. There is a need sooner or later to resolve these issues without toxic politics.
Absolutely. Absolutely, I agree. And I agree with 2018 recommendations of the 21st Law Commission that every personal law we need to look at and we need to bring in reform. But the point I want to make
here...
who's
going to bring the reforms? Parliament has to bring it, ma'am. Flavia, Agnes, who's going to bring the reforms? Who's going to bring the reforms? Parliament will have to do it. There, Sanju Verma is right.
But first we have to discuss it. You cannot impose it on the people. First we have to discuss it and we have to have a code ready, draft ready. People have to respond to it point by point and then on we can go ahead with the parliament. But here I want to make one point to Zakia and to the other lady who said about Christian personal law and court divorces, that Hindu law, you can have a marriage without going to court. You can have a divorce without going to court. All customary practices are validated under the Hindu Marriage Act. Now, if such concessions are given to Hindus, and we hail that Hindus have a perfect law, Hindus marry again, the statistics show more Hindus get married second time than Muslims. And in such a situation, what is the plight of that second woman? She has absolutely no right. She's called as a concubine. And this is the state in which we are living, where Hindus are being discriminated to such an extent. When we're discussing Muslim law and Muslim women's plight, we also need to discuss Hindu women and Hindu women's plight.
You make an important point which I want to take. You make a very important point that I take to Sanju Verma to conclude. Sanju Verma, are we ready? You see, the Prime Minister today linked it to Muslim women or the state of Muslim women. Are we ready to look at Hindu laws that are seen to be gender unfriendly? Flavia mentioned property laws. She mentions laws. We are going to have to look at across communities. Is there a need? There is a need for a debate. It can't just be rhetoric at a political rally. There needs to be top lawyers, top activists coming together and framing a law. Do you agree or not?
Rajdeep, that was a lengthy question. I will just say this to Flavia. Today we have the Indian Divorce Act of 1869. We have the Christian Marriage Act of 1872. We have the Parsi Marriage and Divorce Act of 1936. We have the Hindu Succession Act of 1928. We have the Hindu Guardianship Act of 1956. We have the Hindu Marriage Act of 1955. We have the Muslim Dissolution of Marriage Act 1939. What is the Modi government saying? We are going to codify all these personal laws because it is very difficult each time there is an issue pertaining to marriage, divorce, inheritance, succession, guardianship, for the courts to spend their time on deliberating on each case. And I will just end in 20 seconds by reading out what I feel is one of the most consummate judgments given recently. It was by Justice Pratibha Singh in 2021 July. She is the judge of the Delhi High Court, and she said, in modern Indian society, which is gradually becoming homogeneous, the traditional barriers of religion, community, and caste are slowly dissipating. Such a uniform civil code would be common to all and would enable uniform principles to be applied in matters of marriage, divorce, and succession. This will reduce conflicts and contradictions within our society and help us to rise above personal laws, and will specially help our youth who don't need to be burdened by archaic personal laws. This is Justice Pratibha Singh, and I think she, made sense wonderfully well by saying this is not about Hindus, not about Sikhs, not about Christians, certainly not about Asaduddin Owaisi.
Yes, so the point, exactly, ma'am, exactly, which is why the Prime Minister need not have only referred, therefore, to Muslims. Some would argue he should refer to all women, cutting across religions. It is about gender. It is about gender, it's not about religion.
Why do you have a problem with that?
Okay, it should, because it should be gender neutral, as I said. Let me leave it there. I unfortunately cannot now talk over your voice. You will attack me then of haranguing you. Sarvanan, you want 20 seconds. Sarvanan, you want 20 seconds. Sanju Verma's voice down.
Yeah.
20 seconds only.
Yes, Rajdeep, first and foremost, the BJP should ensure that there is homogeneity within the Hindu culture, Hindu religion. There is so much of discrimination going on. They should bring in uniformity the way they treat all the Hindus.
Okay.
It is not, there is no equality of Hindus within the same Hindu culture. For example, everybody would have seen...
Sarvanan, yes. Now we will get into another debate. The debate, you made your point.
A classic example is the photograph in social media of the president.
Hindu laws are the most progressive. Sarvanan, please educate yourself.
And we are seeing Dharmendra going into the same temple.
Time out. I wish we had more time. This will be a debate that will continue to sort of, in a way, polarize opinion. But this debate needs to be depoliticized and looked purely through a gender frame across communities, not necessarily just one community. That's the challenge, in a way, if UCC is an idea whose time has come. Let's turn from there to, well, you can talk about a uniform civil code, but this is the reality on the ground. A local court in Jharkhand today found 10 accused guilty in the 2019 Tabrez Ansari lynching case. The court will pronounce its quantum of punishment on July 5th. 22-year-old Tabrez Ansari was brutally thrashed by a mob on June 17, 2019 on allegations of bike theft made to chant Jai Shri Ram and Jai Hanuman. A video of the attack went viral, showed how the crowd tied Tabrez to a pole and beat him up. Today, the court said all the accused were guilty of murder. Now, while that might have happened in 2019, some things don't change. I had reported yesterday about a brutal murder of cow vigilantism. Cow vigilantes who in Maharashtra, in Nashik, killed a man, Afan Ansari, left another critically injured. Remember, this is the second such case where a man has died in the region in less than a month. Saurabh Bakhtania brings you tonight's special report from Nashik.
In just 15 days, 2 incidents of mob lynching has happened in Nashik district of Maharashtra. In the very recent incident, 2 people from Kurla were bringing meat. Now remember, it is a meat or beef. That is the investigation by the police which will be done. But the cow vigilante actually assaulted both of them. One of them has died and one of them is seriously injured.
Afan Abdul Majid Ansari was 32 years old. He was killed. On 24 June, he along with 24-year-old Nasir Sheikh were transporting meat from Ahmednagar district of Maharashtra to Mumbai. The duo were apprehended by a group of cow vigilantes in Gambhirwadi on Gothi Sinnar Road in the Igatpuri area.
नासिर से थोड़ी बात किया, वो बात करने की कंडीशन में नहीं था. फिर भी कुछ बातें उसने बताया कि मामू टोल नाके पे था, टोल नाके से निकला, ऐसा बताया उसने. पुलिस की एक गाड़ी थी, तो बोला कैसी थी, बोले वो पुलिस की नहीं थी, वो जो आरपीएफ वाले लोग लेके चलते वो गाड़ी। तो बताने लगा कि मामा मेरे पास पैसा नहीं था उस टाइम, वो लोग 50,000 का डिमांड कर रहे थे, सिर्फ मेरे पास 20,000 रुपये था। मैंने उनको बोला ऑनलाइन करता हूँ, तो बोले नहीं पैसा यहाँ मांगा। ये बात होने लगी, उतने में वो गाड़ी तोड़ने लगे और जो आरपीएफ वाले लोग ने पकड़ के दिया था वो सिर्फ पकड़ के दिया और निकल गए, वो लोग रुके नहीं।
Afan and Nasir were brutally beaten up by the group of cow vigilantes. Afan died while Nasir was admitted to hospital with critical injuries.
बजरंग दल के ये वो स्वामी की छोकरे लोग है, स्वामी पूना का स्वामी है श्री शंकर स्वामी, वो उसके ये सब काम ही है सर। पकड़ा है हमारे 1 साल पहले, 1 साल हो गया, वो आज तक ड्राइवर मिला नहीं है।
This isn't the first such case. On 8th June, 3 men transporting cattle on a tempo were attacked. 2 days later, the body of one of them was recovered from a gorge in Ghatan Devi of Maharashtra's Igatpuri area.
सब कुछ होने के बावजूद जो हमारे साथ अत्याचार हो रहा रोडों पे, जो हमारे को रुका के ड्राइवर को, खलासी को कि हम बजरंग दल वाले हैं, पैसे की मांगनी की जा रही है। ये हमारे साथ रात को 2 बजे 3 बजे, दिन में कोई दिक्कत नहीं होती, रात में जगह जगह टोल नाके लगे हुए, टोल नाके पे बजरंग दल वाले खड़े रहते, कोई भी खड़े रहता है कि आम नागरिक भी हम तो आपको बजरंग दल बोलता है सर, हमारे ट्रैवल लोग एकदम डर जाते हैं, बजरंग दल का नाम सुनते ही वहाँ उनके हाथ पाँव ठंडे होते हैं। अरे सेठ बजरंग दल वाले खड़े, क्या करे, 5,000 मांग रहे, दो, क्या मांग रहे, 20,000 मांग रहे, दे दो।
With Saurabh Bhaktania, Bureau Report, India Today.
Let's turn from there to our Get Real India story. Every year, sometimes the same story. As soon as the monsoon gets delayed, markets tend to witness a sudden spike in the price of vegetables across the country. This year, it's the humble tomato. While in Mumbai, the price of tomatoes is now 42 rupees per kg. In Delhi, it's 60. In Karnataka, it has soared to as high as 112 rupees. What's happening to the humble tomato? That's our Get Real India story.
A summer crop that is the choice of millions across the country is rapidly becoming a prized delicacy. It is enjoyed in all its forms, but now households are being forced to choose.
पहले जब मैं 1 हफ्ते पहले लेने गई थी तो 60 रुपए किलो थे, अब कल लेने गई हूँ तो 120 रुपए किलो, और वो भी टमाटरों का आप हाल देख सकते हैं, कहीं से गले हैं, कहीं से ये वाइटिश में है।
It is an annual deja vu that is hitting India's most vulnerable and the middle class. As the monsoon arrives and supplies plummet, the price of vegetables like the tomato has skyrocketed. The price of tomatoes, an indispensable part of Indian dining tables, has crossed 100 rupees per kilogram in many parts of the country over the past few days.
इतनी महंगाई में क्या खाएं, क्या खरीदे, क्या बनाएं, ये समझ नहीं आ रही। टमाटर देख लो, साथ में सामान पे कभी 60, आज 120, कल 100, ऐसे टमाटरों के रेट ऐसे बढ़ते हैं कि कमाने वाला भी थक गया और खाने वाले भी थके जा रहे।
हर चीज इतना महंगा कि बजट से 3 गुना ज्यादा, इससे कोई समझ में नहीं आता कि क्या करना है, क्या नहीं करना है।
Farmers have cited production and supply shortages as major reasons behind the hike.
माल कम रहने के कारण ही बाजार टाइट हुए हैं। उसका प्रॉब्लम है कि बारिश भी कम था, उसके कारण फसल कम था। इसके पहले 6-8 महीना टमाटर में बहुत मंदी था, यानी लगभग ऐसा पकड़ के चलो 5 रुपए के 10 रुपए के लगभग में बाजार थे, उसके कारण लोगों ने कम किया, उसको खर्चा भी ज्यादा है टमाटर को।
Experts, however, have a different view.
रिटेल मार्केट में तकरीबन 60 रुपए से ज़्यादा प्राइस हर जगह पे है, बताया गया है कि इतना प्राइस है। लेकिन जो हॉकर्स हमारे घर के बाहर आते हैं या जिनसे हम लेते हैं, वो तकरीबन 80 और 100 रुपए का चार्ज करते हैं। इसका मतलब साफ है कि एक रिटेल माफिया जो है वो ऑपरेट करता है। जो इन्फ्लेशन हम एनकाउंटर करते हैं, जिसके ऊपर हमारा हाहाकार मचता है, वो इसलिए है क्योंकि जो हॉकर्स की जो एक रेंज बनी हुई, एक नेटवर्क बना हुआ है, वो प्राइस अपने आप फिक्स कर लेता है।
Vegetable vendors claim that many consumers who would earlier buy 1 kg or more tomatoes have now switched to buying half a kilogram or fewer tomatoes. Whatever the reason, the fact remains that the increasing prices have drastically affected the kitchen budget of consumers. Bureau Report, India Today.
1 month ago, farmers in Nashik were crushing tomatoes on the road because they were not getting their prices. 1 month later, things have changed. Ye hai India. Let's take a break. When we return, the 2023 ODI World Cup schedule is out. The mega India versus Pakistan clash will be in Ahmedabad on October 15. The finals on November 19th. I'll be joined by Chris Srikanth, World Cup winner, as he tells us who's the favorite for the 2019 World Cup. 2023 World Cup.
Where the software engineer meets the smart market analyst, meets the gifted content writer to create the big dream. The world comes together at Sharda University. So where are you?
The India Today Group is pleased to announce the launch of a brand new online portal for our Best Colleges survey, featuring 6 years of ranking data as well as a wealth of granular information on thousands of institutes of higher learning. Our interactive portal offers easy access, analysis and guidance to our Best Colleges of India survey results for over 2,000 colleges across 14 streams. We invite everyone to visit our site, bestcolleges.indiatoday.in, and we wish aspiring students all the very best.
Air quality today. In Delhi, 82. In Mumbai, 53. In Kolkata, 32. In Bangalore, 63. In Chennai, 82. In Hyderabad, 57.
Welcome back. The good news today's story. The ICC has finally formally announced the schedule for the 2023 ODI World Cup to take place in India, October-November. The tournament begins on 5th of October at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad. The mega final will also be held in Ahmedabad on the 19th of November, as will the other big match. India versus Pakistan will also be played. India's campaign, though, begins against Australia in Hyderabad. But clearly, Ahmedabad is the flavor of the season when it comes to the big games at the World Cup. So the big question now is India favourite to win the World Cup 2023 to be played on home soil? Who better to answer that than someone who's been a World Cup winner, highest scorer in the 83 World Cup, and also chairman of selectors when India won in 2011. Krishnamachari Srikanth, always a pleasure talking to you. Chika sir, tell us, do you believe India are the favourites in 2023, or is it going to be tough this time given the kind of competition with teams like England, Australia and a few others?
Hi, Rajdeep and dear viewers from India Today viewers. I'll tell you honestly, I think in my opinion, India are one of the favorites, I would say. One of the favorites. When I say one of the favorites, let's be very honest. Yes, there's an Australian team which is also a good side, and England has been very good. And I believe that Australians play well in India too. So I would say India, Australia, England. I mean, out of these three, I think one of them will probably win the cup.
So you're in a way suggesting that India's two main rivals for winning this World Cup this time are Australia and England. England in particular, not just reigning champions, but they seem to have redefined the way white ball cricket is played. They're playing it like you used to.
Now, one thing is they have started attacking the bowling right from the beginning, be it Test cricket, be it T20 cricket, or be it one-day cricket. I think that methodology has changed from the laws in 2015 World Cup, and we've seen it like in the 2019 World Cup, and you see the Test matches going on between now Australia and England, Ashes. Even there, I think it's been a close match, even though England lost. Yes, England will be one of the favourites because you have to understand one thing. I would say Australia are better favourites than England as far as India is concerned while playing India, because a lot of these Aussies play the T20, the IPLs in India, so they're used to Indian conditions, while some of the few English players play. Yes, a lot of England cricketers also do play here. Yes, England or cricketers also probably getting used to Indian wickets. So that's why I say one of these three countries.
You're ruling out Pakistan. All eyes are on that big game, India versus Pakistan, to be played in Ahmedabad. Are you saying that the Pakistanis who are familiar in a way with subcontinental conditions, are you ruling them out?
See, I'm not ruling them out. I would like to see what kind of team they're going to, what they call, select. That's the most important thing. I mean, Pakistan has always fought well in India. I mean, I wouldn't say no. Yes, the last time in the 2011 World Cup when they played in India, they lost to India probably in the semi-finals, if I'm right, at Mohali. So that's one thing for sure. I mean, I wouldn't rule out Pakistan, but I'm not saying Pakistan has... I mean, not because it's Pakistan, just because, I mean, yes, they are used to subcontinental conditions, but the point is they have not played in India for a long, long time. And that's why I'm talking about Australia and England, because they are kind of playing in India quite regularly, and the players are at least playing in India regularly. That's why I believe that they have better chances.
You know, let's look at India for a moment.
To add on.
Let's look at India for a moment, Chika sir. Who is that? What do you think is the X factor? What is it that it will take India to win? Is there a player? Is there a formula for India to win the World Cup in India?
See, I would say that Indian conditions, as you know, the subcontinental conditions, some of the wickets will probably turn a lot. Some wickets will probably be slightly turning. Yes, the wicket will it won't be bouncy, it won't be moving as it is in Australia. You'll have bouncy conditions, whereas in England you'll have moving conditions. So you're not going to have those conditions. The conditions are going to be home conditions where the Indian conditions are used to it. And that's one of the biggest advantage for Indians. And in the 2011 World Cup, we saw a great, you saw a lot of all-rounders coming into play, semi-all-rounders, but of course we had a fantastic side, and of course very well led by Dhoni too. And that time we had Yuvraj Singh. So I believe that Jadeja will do what Yuvraj Singh did in the 2011 World Cup. So I believe that Jadeja, the Akshar Patels of the world, these people will play a very, very crucial role if India has to win this 2011 World Cup.
Would you go with the experienced batting lineup that we've had?
2023 World Cup.
Is there any new young player that you see emerging? Are you seeing the likes of Shubman Gill, who had a fantastic IPL season? Do you see India's batting really with the young talents? Would you give a break to many more young talents, not just Shubman, maybe a Yashasvi Jaiswal? Would you try out, experiment someone for the World Cup, or is it too late?
See, I'm not going to talk about the team selection of 2023 World Cup, Rajdeep, but Shubman Gill is here to stay. Let's face it. I mean, he had a fantastic, one-day series, and he's been having a fantastic run from 2020 to 22 January, December. From January 2023 has been a golden year for him. Be it Test cricket, be it one-day cricket, be it 2020 cricket. Man, he's got a double 100 in one-day cricket. You have to understand that. So that guy knows what it is. He knows how to pace himself. What I like about Shubman Gill is the way he paces his innings is extraordinary. And yes, there are a lot of young, even Ishan Kishan for that matter, if at all he makes it to the team. I don't know whether he'll make it to the team. If he makes it to the team, he could be a dangerous cricketer, because I believe that Ishan Kishan is going to be a good player. But definitely, yes, we don't know what's the real truth about Rishabh Pant, because Rishabh Pant If he was playing, I would straight away saying Indians are the real favourites. But I think obviously Rishabh Pant's fitness is obviously questionable. Nobody knows how fit will he be before the World Cup. I doubt it. A lot of people doubt whether he's going to play the 2023 World Cup. Otherwise, Rishabh Pant factor would have been very, very crucial. So I believe that guys like KL Rahul should be back, and in the middle order, KL Rahul will be very, very fantastic. You have Rohit Sharma opening with Shubman Gill, then have Virat. King Kohli is fantastic in this format and he's been doing well. He's been in form. So I believe that India has got the what you call capabilities of winning the World Cup.
That was me interviewing Chris Srikanth a little earlier. The one player who we will really need is Jasprit Bumrah. If Bumrah can get fit, who knows? India could well do a 2011 repeat in 2023. 40 years after Chris Srikanth and Kapil Dev and team won that World Cup in 1983. This very week, in fact, 40 years ago. That's it on the show. Thanks for watching. Stay well, stay safe. Jai Hind, Shubhratri, Namaskar.
Where the software engineer meets the smart market analyst, meets the gifted content writer. To create the big dream, the world comes together at Sharda University. So where are you?
Artificial intelligence, AI, an ever-evolving field is transforming the world we live in, unleashing wonders that were once unimaginable. Now, artificial intelligence is transforming lives in Lucknow in the field of medical science. This is an ortho-robo performing a knee replacement surgery, all made possible courtesy AI. And this is a game changer in Uttar Pradesh, as this AI-powered robo will now perform more ortho procedure in Lucknow's Apollo Medics.
This is a most advanced active robotic system. Active means कि हम इसमें सर्जिकल प्लानिंग करते हैं और वो सर्जिकल प्लानिंग सर्जन अपने एक्सपीरियंस के हिसाब से पेशेंट की बॉडी के हिसाब से करता है, तब उस सॉफ्टवेयर को सेव करके और रोबोट में कनेक्ट कर दिया जाता है.
So how does this work? All the information is fed into the robo and then it works on its own, performing the surgery directly.
0.1 मिलीमीटर तक एक्यूरेट होता है ये. और अगर आप मैनुअल सर्जरी और रोबोटिक सर्जरी की बात करें तो मैनुअल सर्जरी 70% एक्यूरेट, तो दिस इज 95% एक्यूरेट.
From revolutionizing industries to enhancing everyday life, AI has proven to be a catalyst for progress and innovation. Bureau Report, India Today.
Weather forecast now. Delhi, maximum 39 and minimum 26 degrees. Mumbai, maximum 30 and minimum 25 degrees. Kolkata, maximum 30 and minimum 25 degrees. Bangalore, maximum 30 and minimum 23 degrees. Chennai, maximum 35 and minimum 28 degrees. Hyderabad, maximum 32 and minimum 24 degrees.
Why does this happen? Let me tell you the science behind it.
For more informative videos like this, keep watching India Today News Mo.
All political parties traveling from different parts.
Armed with facts,
Looking at political back.
she takes the news by its horns.
You think the future of these students are not hampered?
Fierce, bold, and direct, setting the tone for the biggest stories. From every corner and every angle. Expect nothing but the unfiltered truth.
News first, niceties later. Watch me, Nabila Jamal, on India Today.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
Addiction to mobile phones, gaming, all be at different degrees, it is a problem plaguing almost every family nowadays. Kids who simply won't get off the phones, much to the dismay of their parents. Pankaj Gupta is one of them. His 8-year-old son and 4-year-old nephew both have battled addiction.
जब से ये कोरोना काल चला है, ऑनलाइन क्लासेस का प्रोग्राम जब से चला है, उसकी वजह से बच्चों को मोबाइल एडिक्शन लगा है। उसके बाद भी स्कूल वालों ने जैसे ऑनलाइन प्रोसेस रखा है अपना चालू, तो बच्चों को मोस्टली वर्कआउट जो है मोबाइल के कारण मिलता है, उसी कारण इनको मोबाइल एडिक्शन पड़ा है।
The addiction is to the level of the 4-year-old being able to unlock the phone and download games.
छोटे वाला है जो वो सोने के बाद मोस्टली लगता है, तो वो भी कई बार जैसे माँ बाप की आँख खुलती है, पता चलता है कि हाँ मोबाइल में लगा हुआ है। हमें कुछ भी नहीं करना पड़ता, बच्चे अपने आप ही सब कुछ कर लेते हैं। अच्छा। मोबाइल पे गेम्स डाउनलोड कर लेना, उसको चलाना, सब सीख जाते हैं अपने आप ही करते करते।
Experts say here are the signs to watch out to gauge if the child is addicted. The telltale signs are thinking about gaming all the time, losing interest in other activities, unable to quit playing or reduce screen time, using gaming to ease bad moods. It is no secret that mobile phones and gaming addiction is depriving kids of their childhood. The addiction, however, is hard to get rid of, but not impossible.
Self-guard young people on the interface that they have. I think that all of us have a role to play. Rather than just saying and telling a young person, don't use the phone, don't be online, don't play a game. I don't think that's the option here. The option should be effective usage of time and mindful about the content that you are absorbing and ensuring there is enough skill set that you have, that you don't get the negative impact of what you're observing.
As of now, it looks like each and every lower middle class or middle class household in the country has one or multiple such devices. Kids growing up with such technology are getting addicted to it. Living in virtual reality is actually hampering their mental and physical growth, and this is a major cause of concern. With Sneha Mordani and Nasir Khan, this is Abhishek Anand reporting for India Today.
Why does this happen? Let me tell you the science behind it.
For more informative videos like this, keep watching India Today News.
So sorry.
नए दौर में दोस्ताना हमारा अब देखेगा जलवा ज़माना हमारा। ये डीलों के दिन, कुछ हिसाबों के दिन, कई दिल जलो खो जवाबों के दिन। फील्ड में अच्छे ख्वाबों के दिन है। वेलकम अमेरिका में जी मेहरबान, मेरे जैसा फ्रेंड भी मिलेगा कहाँ, मिलेगा कहाँ। ऑटोग्राफ को दिल दीवाना हमारा अब देखेगा जलवा ज़माना हमारा।
Co-powered by Bajaj Allianz Life Diabetic Term Plan. Nippon India Mutual Fund. Wealth sets you free. Extra Safe Polycab Green Wire.
After the May 9 arson and violence in Pakistan, the Pakistan Army cracks the whip. 15 serving Pakistan Army officers sacked.
3 अफसरान बाशमूल एक लेफ्टिनेंट जनरल के ओहदे के अफसर को नौकरी से बर्खास्त कर दिया गया है।
The Pakistan Army does not even spare army families.
एक रिटायर्ड 4 स्टार जनरल की नवासी, एक रिटायर्ड 4 स्टार जनरल का दामाद, एक रिटायर्ड 3 स्टार जनरल की बेगम इस एहतसाबी अमल से नाकाबिले तरदीद शवाहिद की बुनियाद पर गुजर रहे हैं।
Pakistan Army hits out at former Prime Minister Imran Khan. Is the Pakistan Army out to decimate Imran Khan? Is Taliban Khan at the end of his political tether? Endgame Imran is our top focus on this special broadcast.
The Pakistan Army clearly cracking the whip, sacking a corps commander, taking action against 3 major generals and 7 brigadiers, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. The Pakistan Army says the May 9 arson, violence and vandalism was pre-planned. There was careful planning and military targets were selected to be hit. The Pakistan Army has also said military courts will be used to try 102 civilians who include children and families of top Pakistan Army generals. Khadija Shah is the granddaughter of a former Pakistan Army chief. Shabnam Jahangir is the wife of a former 3-star general. Rubina Jamil is the wife of a former 2-star general. And there are several such Pakistan Army families in the line of Pakistan Army fire.
The worst attack on Pakistan Army from within. The House of Lahore Corps commanders set on fire by a rampaging mob on May 9th. The mob did not stop here. Pakistan Air Force Base, Miawali and a number of other Pakistan Army installations were set on fire. The Pakistan Army has now cracked the whip.
3 अफसरान बाशमूल एक लेफ्टिनेंट जनरल के ओहदे के अफसर को नौकरी से बर्खास्त कर दिया गया है। 15 अफसरान बाशमूल 3 मेजर जनरल्स और 7 ब्रिगेडियर्स के ओहदे के अफसरान के खिलाफ सख्त तादीबी कार्रवाई मुकम्मल की जा चुकी है।
Lieutenant General Ahmad Fayaz Ghani, the then Lahore Corps commander, whose house was set on fire by the mob, has been dismissed from service. 2 major general rank officers carried out the inquiry, and Pakistan Army claims to have found evidence against not just serving officers but also several retired officers and their families of being involved in the political conspiracy to defame Pakistan and the Pakistan Army.
एक रिटायर्ड 4 स्टार जनरल की नवासी, एक रिटायर्ड 4 स्टार जनरल का दामाद, एक रिटायर्ड 3 स्टार जनरल की बेगम और एक रिटायर्ड 2 स्टार जनरल की बेगम और दामाद इस एहतसाबी अमल से नाकाबिले तरदीद शवाहिद की बुनियाद पर गुजर रहे हैं।
Pakistan Army is also trying 102 arsonists and rioters in military court, claiming there is direct evidence of their involvement in riots and arson, calling it an organized conspiracy which took several months to plan. The Pakistan Army also hit out at former Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan, directly accusing him of defaming the Pakistan Army and Pakistan state for political gains.
9 मई का जो वाक़या था उसका मकसद क्या था? उसका मकसद था कि फ़ौज से फौरी रद्द-ए-अमल लिया जाए, इश्तियाल दिलाया जाए, ताकि उसकी सूरत में कोई नुकसानात हों, उन नुकसानात के ऊपर अपनी सियासत को आगे चलाया जाए। ठीक है, उसके लिए मनसूबा साजी की गई। उसके लिए पहले लोगों का ज़हन बनाया गया, लोगों को एक मनसूबे के तहत चंद घंटों में पूरे मुल्क में पहले से तयशुदा इधर जाओ इधर जाओ इधर जाओ लोग भेजे गए। और उसकी जो ये मैं बात कर रहा हूँ, अभी लोगों के अपने आप बयानात सुन रहे हैं, सीसीटीवी रिकॉर्डिंग्स हैं, ऑडियो रिकॉर्डिंग्स हैं, वो सब ये बात क्लियर कर रही हैं कि एक मनसूबे के तहत था।
And amidst this crisis in Pakistan, there are chants against Pakistan Army in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Amidst this crisis, Imran Khan continues to take on the Pakistan Army.
वो लोग जो हर बारी बाहर भाग जाते थे, जब मौका मिलता था पावर से बाहर हाथ जोड़ के तो बाहर भाग जाते थे और फिर डील एनआरओ करके वापस आ जाते थे। तो वो लोग आज इस मुल्क के फैसले कर रहे हैं और ऊपर बैठे हुए हैं और एस्टेब्लिशमेंट उनके साथ खड़ी हुई है। आर्मी चीफ ने जब मुझे हटाया, उसने कहा जी पाकिस्तान को आइसोलेट कर दिया था, अकेला छोड़ दिया था। आज आइसोलेशन है पाकिस्तान की, इसको आइसोलेशन कहते हैं।
Pakistan appears to be facing an existential crisis with a near total economic and political collapse, and terrorists once backed by Pakistan Army now directly taking on the security forces in Pakistan. Bureau Report, India Today.
Pakistan Army sacking a 3-star general, a corps commander at that, 3 major generals and 7 brigadiers is huge. The army calls it self-accountability in Pakistan. But is this an admission by Pakistan Army that the Lahore Corps commander, Lieutenant General Ahmad Fayaz Ghani, was actually working with former Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan to destabilize Pakistan? And were all these generals and brigadiers working for their political masters and not for Pakistan as a nation? Some have even argued that this is just the tip of the iceberg. Pakistan Army is split right down the middle. Will there be a wider purge? And is this then end of the rope for Imran Khan? Joining me on this special broadcast is Shama Junejo, a Pakistani columnist and commentator from the United Kingdom. Mona Alam is a senior TV journalist in Pakistan. And Ambassador Veena Sikri is a former top diplomat in India, keeps a close watch on developments in the neighborhood. Welcome. I want to begin by asking you, Mona, why did the Pakistan Army, in your view, sack the Lahore Corps commander, a serving 3-star general? After all, it was his house that was set on fire by the arsonists on the 9th of May. And why, Mona, were 3 major generals and 7 brigadiers also in the line of fire?
Thanks, Gaurav. Actually, this is really unprecedented. This is something which is historic and we've never seen or heard of any such thing before. The army has given a very clear-cut message to the civilian government that it has zero tolerance against the miscreants of 9th May. And they've come down really hard on the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf and the entire leadership. And they're also claiming that they have further proofs to establish that the entire attack was masterminded days before 9th of May. And it was planned and spearheaded by none other than the PTI chief Imran Khan. So I am really curious to see as to what unfolds further in this story and in this developing thread. But it does come across as a matter of great concern, because I clearly recall the footage of the Corps commander's house that was set ablaze, and the angry mob had entered his house. They were threatening him, they were threatening his family, they were on record. Video footages of him and his family were recorded. it was as though it appeared as though they've been kept hostages by the entire angry mob. So it came across as a very worrisome visual. And having said that, of course, it also sent a message to the PTI as though this entire attack was a false flag operation, as they call it.
But was he party to this? Was all of this orchestrated? That this showed Pakistan Army and Pakistan in very poor light, Shama Junejo. Is this, as some argue, the tip of the iceberg? Will there be a wider purge, wipe out all Imran Khan backers and supporters in the system in Pakistan?
First of all, hello everyone. I wouldn't say that it's the tip of the iceberg. I mean, Pakistani military or any military, they are the disciplined forces. So if their breach of discipline, or if it is their sign of incompetence, or there is any feeling that the officer could not comply with the orders and the duties he was supposed to, then every army would take action. So I rather say it otherwise. So there are two aspects and two parallels we are talking about right now. One is Imran Khan, which is purely political, and the other is the military's action on their officers. So you just said that they burnt his house. It was not his house, Jinnah House or the Corps Commander House. That was government's property, or we could say that it's military's property, or because it was Corps Commander House, it was inside the Lahore Kent. It was not in a residential area or a civilian area. So the location was inside the cantonment area. So when
what was this incompetence? Before I bring in Ambassador Sikri, was this incompetence on the part of the Corps Commander or his Chief of Staff, and both of them have been sacked, or was this complicity? Mona, what have you been able to gather?
I think the entire military establishment was of the view that they were complicit in the crime. They were complicit in the crime, and they did not stop them. Though there were clear orders that if the angry mob marches towards their installations, they are supposed to, as heads of those installations, protect at any cost the sanctity and the integrity of that particular place or that installation, that building. It may be a public property, it may be a private property, but in this particular case, I think the fact that those were military installations has caused a further dent, because it comes across as a mockery of the country. And I recall being on your shows, Gaurav, all the while when these incidents were happening, that we were in a state of disarray and complete shock as to what has been transpiring and why weren't they stopped at a certain point. Why were they allowed to reach that point? Why were they allowed to massacre the entire house and set ablaze the entire property, steal away goods, steal away peacocks, food, edible items, and whatnot? So you see, we were all. This was a big question mark that arose that very day on the 9th of May and the consequent 10th of May. And I think this has been really well answered by the military establishment itself, because they too are of the opinion that it could not have happened unless and until these officers, which have been sacked, were complicit in the crime.
They were complicit in the crime, and consider, Ambassador Sikri, Pakistan Army going after their own, and somebody like the Lahore Corps Commander, who's a second-generation officer. His father was an army brigadier. His father-in-law was in the army. Of course, his father-in-law went out in disgrace. But is General Asim Munir carrying out a systematic purge? It's like a clearing operation. No Imran Khan supporter in the system. Whoever they may be, take them to task.
Well, certainly the events and the announcement today is quite unprecedented. It's unprecedented for any country, because even if there are problems, it's not broadcast and announced in this strong manner. So this clearly shows that it's been done for a certain reason, and it's a reason to show to the rest of the country. I'm interested to learn from our friends from across the border what are the reasons for this, why it happened. But I can see that even there are differences. So I can see that even within Pakistan, there seem to be be no real agreement on why this has happened and why did it happen like that. Is there dissension within the army? Is there support for Prime Minister Imran Khan within the army? There are a lot of questions that we in India would like to have answers to, but it is for the people of India, people of Pakistan to give these answers. And in the press conference today, there was description of an enemy. This is the enemy within. This is the enemy within Pakistan that is in operation. And what is happening there, we are watching, because Pakistan is going indeed through a very difficult time with the political difficulty, the serious economic difficulties, the IMF suspension, the security situation, the natural disasters. We wish well to our neighbor, we would like a stable and prosperous neighbor in Pakistan.
Sure, but Mona, if I could, the enemy within, as Ambassador Sikri put it, not even army families are being spared. The granddaughter of a former army chief, that's Khadija Shah, a very famous fashion designer. I also want to, Shabnam Jahangir, wife of a 3-star general. Rubina Jamil, wife of a 2-star general. This is huge. If the army is going after the enemy within, which are army families, army wives, Mona.
Actually, yes, this is a matter of great concern because educated citizens here in Pakistan were part of these violent protests. And a particular former Chief Justice of Pakistan has filed a petition in the Supreme Court against the military trial of the perpetrators of 9th of May. And incidentally, a video has also surfaced in which his own relatives, his own family members were part of those protests, and they were chanting violent slogans. They were showing off and bragging before the camera that if this is what they've done to Imran Khan, then this is the consequence, this is the music that they'll have to face, and they've asked for it. So, they were talking about such things, and I'm really startled to see, because I, as a citizen of Pakistan and a commoner in the country, I do not fathom the fact as to how can a normal person, a peaceful person, be a part of such violent protest. It is absolutely their democratic right to voice out against any such arrest, any such thing that has happened, which in their view is illegal, or which is political victimization of Imran Khan or their party. But taking it to this level, taking it to this verge is indeed unfathomable. And the fact that educated citizens, people like Khadija Shah, they too were a part of it. I also, by the way, do really